there is still more to be done. Something seemed off. Not only with the story she had just told, with her, and with you, yourself, assuming everything she had said was the truth. Which or not, my mind is made up. Which will strike you first, I wonder? Regret or the curse? You seem to be doing just fine. It's only a tale. The witch is real, very much so. It is not a legend nor a fairy tale. The witch is me. That's right. It wasn't the white-haired girl who had claimed to be the witch. And that wasn't all. Or do you mean to reclaim your old self no matter the cost? If you do, if you're sincerely prepared to do that, then be wary of the tale that comes next. Any tragedy that seems too beautiful to be real is precisely that, a fabrication. None of your questions had been answered. You still didn't know who the painting was, or what had taken place so long ago that caused the mansion to summon people to it. You didn't even know who you were, for that matter. There was still more to be done. You had to find the truth. You needed to find someone, that much was certain. But was the story the maid had told correct about whom? And if it was, what about her? What about the woman whose name you couldn't say? The woman who had so cheerfully called you master? We agreed that we would live together, not just in the same house, so we've got plenty of time to add more to the list. And I hope you can make your own list about me too. This is just the beginning after all. We've got a long, long time ahead of us. Plenty enough to get to know each other, no? You must say her name. You must take her hand. You must make her smile once again. You mustn't reclaim your old self. It's dark. Dark. It's dark. It's dark again. It's dark. 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 Constantly engulfed in darkness. You threw it away every single time. I must break out of this darkness. I'll give you a world that's not cruel to you. I must escape and take her hand, because that's the reason. Oh, I've got a wonderful idea. I came here. You can curse them with me. I must return. I must reclaim. We can think of new ways to torture them. We'll all be happier if you stay here. Just think about it. Stay here, in this world. You'll be right at home. No! I did the best I could for you. Nothing more. This isn't where I belong. No matter how much of a world darkness may suit me, you'll never be able to do it. I must reclaim my true self. Okay, let's reclaim yourself. This is brilliant. Do you have any idea how terrible a decision that is? Do you have any idea why I fabricated that story? It was all for you. So stay here. Stay right where you are. The darkness suits you better. No, we're reclaiming ourselves. Remember what someone told you not long ago? That you could handle the stories because they weren't your own. That you were able to bear the tragedies because they happened to others. If that had been your suffering, if the secrets you had kept buried away for so long had come out, you couldn't possibly have endured it. Doesn't matter, we're reclaiming ourselves. But you're a sharp one. I'm sure you intend to keep those secrets tucked away forever. Do you really think I'm going to let you do that, though? Whatever you try to hide, I'll make sure your beloved hears every last detail. Nope, we're reclaiming ourselves. How foolish can you be? Despite all my encouragement, you still insist on getting your old self back? What do you have to gain from that? Nothing but filthy, ugly tragedy awaits you down this path. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna reclaim myself. Don't get your hopes up, my dear. There's nothing for you there. You have nothing. I'm offering you a place by my side. You should just take it. There is no salvation for you anywhere. None. At all. Anywhere. From anyone. Ever. She has long since lost grip on reality. And you think there's anything you can do for her now? Despite having repeatedly failed to even regain yourself? Doesn't matter. Well, I suppose if you're going to be stubborn, as much as I don't want to, I have to place a curse on your soul. That's right. The white-haired girl was never at the mansion. There is still a story left untold. What? The fourth door was all a lie. What do you mean? It was not some sweet little tragedy. The story you told was pure fantasy. No, that was the truth. That was where it all began. Because of what happened then, you spent innumerable years lost until you showed up here and... What? You reach out, grasping for it. You pull yourself in. Your silhouette, which has been hazy until now, begins to take form. Your mind, your consciousness, your heart, your soul, and your body. Who are you? The veil in your mind dissipates. A crack forms in the shell encasing you, then another. The invisible shackles chaining your spirit fall to the floor. Reality fades in atop the indistinct, foggy world around you. Bony fingers appear before your eyes. Long hair. Your voice, no. My voice. My body. My fingers. My arms are frail and my joints weak. But despite my resemblance to the white-haired girl, I am not her. This is who I am. I have finally reclaimed myself. You weren't waiting for the white-haired girl. You were waiting for me. And that's exactly why I came here. What? I have no idea what you are talking about. I have always waited for the white-haired. There was never a white-haired girl. There was only... This time I must say her name. She is Giselle. There was only you. I am Giselle? No, I am not Giselle. I am a servant of the house, and I am the witch, the cause. You are not a witch. The witch is someone else. Why do you insist that you're the witch? What changed you so much? The shadowy figure in the master bedroom, that was her. A glimpse into her past. I'm sure this is Giselle, but why is she so different? What happened to the spark she used to have? Where did the light she once shone upon the world go? I have to remember. I must remember. This cannot end until I have. This is no longer a story. No, what I need to face is my past and her heart. She was not even present in the story she made up. Everything about it had been changed. The past I lived and the wounds she bore were more grounded in harsh reality, not wrapped in a film of fairy tale magic. That was the final tale, and it was all true. That's how it happened. It was a bittersweet story. No, how can you not see this? Yes, it was a beautiful tragedy, but was there even a scrap of humanity in it? Behind the 3 preceding doors, there had been a constant thread of ugliness and conflicting motivations. But there was hardly a trace of that behind the 4th door. The characters felt like nothing more than characters. Is that what you want to turn it into? Is that what you want our history to become? Our history? Oh, but I don't remember anything at all. You don't remember anything? No, I don't want to. I don't need a past or a future. All I have left inside me is uncertainty. Giselle. No, that is not my name. Please stop trying to confuse me. I'm fine with things the way they are. If it means I don't have to hurt, that's all I want. So please, just let me keep being the maid. Let me keep being a guide, not some foolish girl. Is that what she honestly desires? Does she want to cast aside her past for good? If so, then... Not remembering isn't an option. No matter what she says, I know I'm right. And if she doesn't reclaim her old self, I'll never get to hear her say my name again. I know I'm being selfish here, but I can't do that. If you're afraid of what you might find, we can remember together. I haven't gotten everything back yet myself. So let's open the real door together. There are no other doors to open, but there is one that can only open by our hands because it exists between the 2 of us. Not a door with physical form, but the door to your heart. The door to... I grasp her unnaturally cold hand, a hand that long ago once had warmth. If she can't lead the way, then I have to. I must pick up the pieces of our erased history so we can both reclaim ourselves. Find the actual truth. No matter what we may uncover, I will not let go of this hand. No, I mustn't let go of it. Darkness falls over the world around us. The floor upon which we had been standing flickers out of existence, sending us dropping into an endless abyss. This dark pit. This is her door, her history, her heart. Let's try this one more time. It's not a sweet story by any means. It's a story of betrayal, anger, hatred. We caused each other pain, but that's the road we travelled, and down that road lies all the answers. The fourth door. The fifth door. 1099. It had been several days since I left the capital, and I could see it when I closed my eyes. The people lined up on the Grand Pond, awaiting entry, eager to start a new life there, brimming with hope. It was a city people were willing to pay high taxes to live in. If you were a performer, you could get some of those costs shaved down a bit by putting those skills to use. The capital was harsh on those who wanted in and apathetic about all who left. It was composed of a powerful nobility and clergy, wealthy merchants and bankers, and a large population of poor. And it was the city I had called home for a long time. I didn't know how much about where I was heading. It's getting foggy. Looks like it might rain. Maybe we should take a little break. You want to keep going? Oh, all right then. The coachman was frustratingly taciturn. He acted as though he had gotten stuck transporting a prisoner, though that was hardly a stretch. From his point of view, I was nothing more than a criminal. Even the times he would acknowledge I had said anything, he made no effort to hide the scorn in his eyes, to pretend he didn't regret ever taking this job, and I would just fall silent again. The road was gradually getting narrower. We had long since left the paved city roads behind and were now travelling along a couple worn-down grooves in the forest. How did I end up here? Why was I being subjected to this? I was done thinking about it. The more I thought on it, the less fair it seemed. The more I remembered, the worse it hurt. All I could do anymore was close my eyes and weather the storm. Deep within the dense woods, a mansion appeared before us like the world fading into view after a dream. It didn't seem to be an especially large house, but it had obviously been constructed with a great deal of care, and it was, thankfully, not standing in ruins. This deep in the forest? The carriage came to a stop, and the coachman climbed down, signalling with his chin for me to get out. Thank you very much. You must be tired after such a long journey. This is the mansion I am looking for, yes? But the driver didn't even acknowledge me, getting back onto the carriage and setting off into the forest. He seemed to want to get as far away from here as quickly as possible. He could have said something. Oh well. That was about all I could say, anyway. Oh well. I couldn't blame anyone for my being here, or for his wanting to get out. I should get going, I guess. Getting a better look at it, the house's windows were strangely enough all shuttered. It was probably dark as pitch inside. Does no one live here? But if that's the case, then why was I placed my hand on the front door. Such a big door. What if I couldn't get in? I had no idea what else there was in the area. If the door didn't open, then I would die out here in the forest. I've come to accept much, but I was not ready to forfeit my life yet. Please open. It's not locked, I guess. The door was heavy, and though it seemed to protest my attempts to enter, it still opened much easier than I was expecting. I was worried over nothing. Looking in, I got the strangest impression that light was being swallowed up into the mansion's depths. Rather than going inside, it felt as though I was about to step outside the boundaries of this world. When I closed the door, it was so dark I couldn't even tell where I was walking. I wonder if the window's open. Though I managed to fumble my way over to a window, it was tightly shuttered, and the shutters caked with rust. I was probably not getting it open without a fight. Darn, not a hint of light. I couldn't even see my hand waving in front of my face. It felt as though the floor would fall out from under me and I would sink into eternal darkness if I didn't watch my step. Fighting back that fear, I slowly walked forward, tracing the wall with my hand. There was a door at the end of a long corridor. I pulled it open, and a wisp of bone-chilling air brushed past me. It was too dark to see anything, but I could feel something different present in this area than the rest of the house. Uneasiness gripped me. Hello? Is anyone there? Please, don't tell me it's actually abandoned. I suppose I can't know without looking around a bit more. My voice simply disappeared into the void. No response. As I pushed forward through the freezing air, for a split second I spotted a shimmer of light. Squinting my eyes, I was able to make out a large window. Unlike the others, it wasn't shuttered. What do we have here? Drapes? I see a little light beyond. My chances were slim, I imagined, but if there was even a slight possibility of getting some light in here, it was worth a shot. So I pulled open the drapes. The next moment, faint but colourful light shone down on me. It was a stained glass window. From beyond the glass, I could hear the subtle pitter-patter of rain. It had finally started, it seemed. The different colours of light blended into a milky white, dim but wondrous. It's so pretty. It looks like an angel. Why would someone cover this up? It's beautiful. With a little more light, it'd be... Please do not touch the drapes. Or the windows. Suddenly, I heard a voice, and I could sense someone else in the room. The man's voice was emotionless, neither deep nor high. Before long, he came into view, illuminated by dull orange candlelight. I'm sorry for coming in uninvited, but, I did announce myself. The man stood there, practically blending in with the darkness. Had he been there the whole time? He was staring straight at me. His gaze wavered slightly, but not enough for me to read anything in it. Then again, I could hardly make out any detail at all under the light of a single candle. Is this, your mansion? It is. Thank goodness. I was afraid it was deserted. I suspect you would have preferred it if the house were abandoned. Oh, not at all. I would be scared to death staying in this dark mansion by myself. I'm I'm sorry. No ill will intended, but I do think it could do with some light. That way, you could see where you were walking. And I'm sure this room would look splendid illuminated. Not necessarily. I do perfectly well as things are. How can you see when it's so dark? I have an abundance of candles and oil for lamps. I am not in want of means of creating light. It is not your place to criticize my lifestyle. If you need light, you are free to leave. If you are in need of money, help yourself to some of the furniture. There's a village not far from here. Trade it for food, then make your way to a larger town. I am no longer able to freely return to the city. I cannot go back there. Please, don't chase me out. I see. And do you ask this of me, aware of how people refer to this mansion? They say that a witch lives here. Not merely a witch. A cursed witch. If you remain here, you too shall likely suffer your own destruction. You're worried for my well-being? Witch or not, my mind is made up. I was sent to this cursed witch's mansion to atone for my transgressions back in the city. It didn't matter what lived here, I had no choice. Which will strike you first, I wonder, regret or the curse? You seem to be doing just fine. It's only a tale. The witch is real, very much so. It is not a legend nor a fairy tale. The witch's name was Morgana. Is me. Yes. That was our first encounter. It was nothing flowery or dramatic. It was, rather, laced with suspicion and wariness. We knew nothing about one another, and I had no interest in changing that. But, nonetheless, that was where it all began, where my history with her commenced. The woman had jade eyes. Open wide, they glimmered like jewels in the light shining through the stained glass window. She seemed to be at a loss for words. I wasn't lying, per se. The rumors said a witch lived in this house, and I was the only one who filled that criteria. Thus, said rumors could be interpreted to be talking about me. After staring at me dumbfounded for a few moments, the woman suddenly burst into laughter. Oh, wow! Here I was thinking you were kind of scary, but it turns out you're actually quite funny. What? I never would have guessed you were someone to tell such a ridiculous joke with a straight face. I wasn't... You don't look at all like a witch. I mean, it's dark and I can't really see, but you seem to me like a rather handsome man. The word witch. The word witch has broader meaning than just a woman who practices magic. Any unholy person with cursed powers, man or woman, can be considered a witch. I think I get what you're trying to say, but my mental image of a witch is definitely more a woman. So you're not a witch? To tell you the truth, I didn't know who might be here, which had me rather scared. But I think I can make this work. What do you... It's a pleasure to meet you, Master. Master? I was sent here from your old home. I was an Abigail for your mother, but, well, I might have made a little goof. I froze the moment the word left her mouth. Home. It rattled around in my skull, shaking up terrible memories that almost brought me to my knees. Why, after all these years, were they reaching out to me now? And not even sending someone to bring me back, just sending someone. To what end? For what purpose had they shipped an Abigail out to this remote mansion? What was my mother thinking? Was this another one of her attempts to break my curse? What do you mean you made a little goof? My voice came out weak. I did my best not to let it show on my face. It was a teeny tiny mistake. Nothing you need to concern yourself with. What did Mother say about me? Well, it was actually your father who told me to come here. I never really spoke to your mother much. Father sent you? That made even less sense. Why would he have? Did Father even know I was here? No. If he had known, I would have been... Who was this woman? And what was her goal in asking to stay here? Well, there you have it. I'll be here for a while. If you need me for anything, do not hesitate to ask. I'm confident I can handle most everyday tasks. Now, where should I begin? Oh, I know. Are you hungry, Master? Food. I can't imagine you eat much, being as skinny as you are. I turned my back on her without responding. No matter what her goal was, she had been sent from that house. There was no way anything good could come of that. And there was no way I could live with someone who had ties to them. I prayed she would take the hint, give up, and leave. Master! And so, I kept ignoring her. Master! Master! I ignored. Master! I ignored her. Master! What would you like for supper? Nothing! But failed, spinning back and shouting. Her eyes went wide, and then she gave me a sheepish giggle. I glared at her as she fidgeted uncomfortably. Eating is one of the most basic human needs, so if you're hungry, you should really eat. I said I didn't want. What was that sound? Must you ask? That's not a very polite thing to ask a lady, you know. Huh? You know, it was a long trip. All I had to eat on the road was dried fruit. I felt like I was some kind of animal. So, what I'm trying to say is that I'm hungry. That wasn't the sound of her stomach growling, was it? I thought lightning had struck in the distance. And would like some supper? The kitchen is at the far end of the hall on the first floor. There's food in the cellar. Help yourself to any of it. Thank you so much. I honestly feel like I haven't eaten in days and I'm about to die of starvation. Oh, and I shouldn't need any help finding it. I plan on exploring the house anyway. It's rather exciting being in a new place. Ugh, damn it, that did not go as planned. Oh well, she can do as she pleases. I'll have nothing to do with it. Oh, Master, are you sure you don't? No. Master? Master, what is it now? My name is Giselle. It's a pleasure to meet you. And your name, Master? Oh, Master, you... I actually left the room that time, making my way back to my chambers. At some point, I would seriously have to chase her out, especially considering she had come from that house. But regardless, I was not terribly fond of her. I didn't really understand Michael, but that was probably because we were still essentially strangers. Having been sent to the mansion as reparation for my mistakes, I wasn't sure who I might find there. but I was tentatively convinced he wasn't a terrible person. He didn't do anything to me except stay away. Michael spent most of his time in his chambers, which he had told me to never enter under any circumstances, so we rarely encountered one another in the halls. For that reason, I made an effort to be kind and cheerful on the sporadic occasions we did cross paths. I figured if I kept that up long enough, he would eventually warm up to me. And, as new housemates, being able to enjoy our time together was obviously preferable to the alternative. If I did manage to break the ice, I hoped we would be able to do some talking about the mansion, about him, about me. I just had to keep working on it. Michael didn't need me to take care of him. He handled his own day-to-day needs and activities by himself. And, in fact, he didn't ask me for anything. An aristocrat who had no use for his servant. I hadn't met anyone like him before. All right then. That meant all I could do was clean. I wasn't sure how his room looked, but the rest of the house was, quite frankly, an absolute disaster. The dust was so heavy it was obvious it hadn't been touched in years. Let's get started. It couldn't be healthy to live in these conditions, so I set out to clean each room in the house, one by one. That said, it wasn't going to be an easy task. Not because I was bad at cleaning, in fact I considered myself quite good at it, but because it was near impossible to find all the dust and grime that needed cleaning under the flickering light of a candle. I can't understand how anyone sane can live in this dark. What's wrong with him? Maybe he's actually a vampire. Oh God, wouldn't that be something? I can see it now, him sneaking out every night to suck the blood of pretty girls. Priceless. That means I'm in trouble. And look at me, this one-woman comedy show here, yep. If I am able to get him to warm up to me though, maybe that'll give me a little more room to make some changes. Like opening some windows. No light and no fresh air? No thank you. Anyway, I set the candlestick down, pulled over a chair to stand on, and started wiping down the shelf. The chair legs seemed to be uneven as it wobbled slightly beneath me. So many books. I wonder, do they all belong to him? I knew parchment was expensive, so it was rather astonishing seeing this many stacks of it in one place. There were even some books with bulky, extravagantly decorated covers. He does come from an esteemed family. I'd spent enough time in his family's home. It was a constant bustle of servants and guests, the exact opposite of what this mansion was like. Why had he left his home? What had he done to be sent all the way out here, to this remote mansion, with a less than savoury reputation? Need to be careful not to overstep my bounds. I am a servant now, a servant. But once the thought had crossed my mind, I couldn't get it out. I'd always had a bad tendency to chase my curiosities as soon as they struck, pushing to scratch the itch no matter how much my actions annoyed others. I couldn't do that here, though. I was simply a servant, and if I got on Michael's bad side, I risked getting thrown out. I wonder what kind of books he's got in here. So I attempted to distract myself. I grabbed one of the books and attempted to pull it out. What? But the strings binding the parchment must have gotten tangled at the back. Whoa! Because the books on either side tilted back with it. Ah! And the entire row came crashing down on top of me. Ah! Ow! Oh, for cripe's sake! I had fallen off the chair, and a downpour of books was still coming down on me, a mountain of dust with it. Seriously? What are you doing? What? Suddenly, Michael was there, looking down on me from a little ways away. There was, as usual, not much I could read from his expression, but I could hear a vague trace of exasperation in his voice. I was doing some cleaning and... Impressive work. I'm usually better than this. It's just so dark. Mistakes should be expected. I really think we should open some windows, Master. Get some light in, some air flowing through here. I never asked you to clean anything. You did this entirely yourself. But there's so much dust. It can't be good for you. I'm perfectly healthy. I don't see the problem. Had he even seen himself? No way someone that skinny was perfectly healthy. You look like you have something to say. He can make out my face in this darkness? Oh, you know. I want it to be useful, and cleaning is about all I can do here, so, you know. I was sensing something else, but alright. He let out a sigh, stepped over toward the pile of books, and then reached his hand down for me. I suddenly felt a pang of embarrassment about the fact that I was still splayed out on the floor. But I raised my hand up to take his, only for him to pick up a book instead. You could at least help me up. You have legs, he said, casually returning the book to the top shelf. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was a terrible person. So, Master, are all these books yours? Giselle asked, not a trace of remorse visible on her face despite having made a mess of the room she was supposedly trying to clean. I gave a curt nod. Really? That's impressive. Must have been hard work getting them all in here, huh? There's got to be 100 books here. You could fill a whole carriage at least. It's like you've got your own personal library. She'd been pouting only a few moments earlier, but her smile was back in short order. Her jade eyes were like little balls of curiosity, glittering in the faint candlelight. I was not particularly fond of overly expressive, rather overly curious women. Did they not care that they trampled uninvited into other people's personal spaces? Or were they not even aware that their actions were invasive? I averted my gaze from hers. I receive one roughly every month. Ah, I see. Wait. She turned back toward the shelves. I presumed she understood the implication of what I had just said, of the fact that there were nearly 100 tombs here and I received only one a month. Huh. Giselle fell silent. I couldn't blame her if she thought my circumstances or my family or my life bizarre. But I didn't care what she thought of me. In fact, it was to my advantage for her to be uncomfortable. I just needed her to stay quiet and keep her nose out of my business. There's more than I thought, I said to her, not to her, but to myself. I had no reason to count the passage of time anymore. Only the books served as a record of how long I had been here. What? 121? What? There are 121 books. 10 years and 1 month. You were counting? I thought she had just sheepishly gone quiet. What an inscrutable woman. You've been here in the mansion for that long? All by yourself? The truth was, there had been times when I wasn't alone, but Giselle had no need to know that. You already know the answer. A look of pity formed in Giselle's eyes. Enough. I never asked for her sympathy. I am here by choice. You mean you weren't banished here? No restraint, this woman. No, I came here of my own volition. I didn't care enough to elaborate, though. Picking another book up off the floor, I brushed the dust off its cover. It was a gaudily decorated tomb. That's a very fancy book, isn't it? But apparently, Giselle was unable to take the hint. What's it about? I let out a sigh and opened to no page in particular, sticking the book out toward her. She was a servant and a woman. There was no way she could read. Let's see here. This land is hardly suitable for cultivation. It can only produce over-sour grapes. I would probably get more out of it if I tore down the fields and made it into a market. Sounds like a lord's diary. You can read? I was caught slightly off guard. It was rare for a noblewoman to be able to read and write, let alone a servant. Was she truly what she claimed to be? I had someone teach me. So, is this book anything interesting? It's dull, worthless tripe. I can't imagine why anyone thought it was worth binding. Tough crowd. But it's not very often you get to see a lord's diary. I am rather curious what kind of things he griped about. Lord or king, what value is there in another's grumbling? There is no knowledge contained within that book. Just emotions, unsightly scribbles. And there was nothing more exhausting in this world than being emotional. If you want to read it, be my guest. That wasn't my intention, but all right. Once I've got the whole mansion cleaned, I'll read it. I told you, you don't have to clean. Oh, I've got an idea, Master. If you're interested, maybe we could read together. Did you hear a word I just said? It's dull, worthless tripe. Still, you might see it differently if you read it with someone else. And I'm sure there are some books here you enjoy, Master. You're wasting your time. The suspicion and restraint budding between us was trite and insignificant at that point. She was still smiling after all. If I had been able to maintain that distance, then perhaps I wouldn't have ended up hurting her. It had been a little under 2 weeks since I had moved in with Michael. Though we lived in the same house, we rarely saw each other. On unlucky days, I wouldn't see him at all. I wasn't sure if he ate in his room, or our schedules were simply misaligned, but we never had any meals together. Perhaps he was deliberately avoiding me. That has to be it. I know servant and master don't usually eat at the same table, but even so, he could at least be a little less obvious about it. Am I really that much of a nuisance? I'm not doing anything inappropriate, am I? I'm being pleasant and sociable, aren't I? I haven't given it any reason not to like me. I think. I hope. He had never been very enthusiastic about my staying here, but I hadn't been given a choice. I'd been sent here by his family, besides. No. Out with the negative thoughts. Gotta stay positive. Yeah, he hasn't tried to chase me out yet. I just haven't broken the ice. I had to stay positive, optimistic, happy thoughts, and be myself. As long as I kept working at it, with enough time, Michael would surely come around and not be so distant. I've got a goal, so let's get to work. First, I'll make supper, then I'll ask him to have it with me. Gotta be proactive when it comes to the reclusive types. All right, here goes. Oh, here would go, but we're almost out of supplies. Well, so much for that. The cellar was where the non-perishable food was stored. Dried food, smoked meats, cheeses, and a small scattering of root vegetables. Looking at this makes me feel like a soldier holding down a castle's fortifications. Had Michael really gone 10 years on nothing but this? I would have raised the white flag long ago. He said he hadn't left the mansion at all in those 10 years. I assume he at least goes out to get supplies, right? Running out of food is kind of a life or death matter. I can't believe he hasn't set foot outside even once, and what are you babbling on about? Wah! Oh no, he overheard me. I assumed you were talking to someone. Huh? Does anyone else live here, Master? I haven't seen anyone. It is just the two of us. Alive, anyway. You mean that there are ghosts? Something of the sort. There you go again with the jokes. I'm not a child. You're not going to trick me like that. There are adults who believe in such things. I suppose. But I don't really believe in ghosts or demons or curses or any of that. The church just tries to convince people they're real so they can squeeze more money out of them. Am I going to have to turn you over to the church, you blasphemer? No. I pray every day, honest. I don't particularly care either way. I'm returning to my chambers. What, already? You didn't, come down for food? I only came down because I heard voices. A moment, please, just wait a second. What? Our stores are almost empty. What do you normally do when you need more food? I'll happily accompany you on a trip to the market. Already? That was fast. There are two of us. I really didn't eat that much, do I? In the dim light, it was difficult to make out Michael's expression, but I thought I could see a tinge of annoyance on his face. Hold your ground, Giselle. You said you wanted to get closer to him. Is that a parsnip? Michael was holding a tangled ball of roots. The reason I asked was because the parsnip looked like it was on the verge of total decomposition. See, there's still food. Then he handed it to me. What? Wait, you want to eat that? It's clearly seen better days. You're going to get sick. Or are you telling me you can survive on rotten vegetables? Of course I won't eat it. I just figured you were hardy enough to survive. What do you think I am? No, he is definitely a jerk. Or that the resulting diarrhea might reduce your appetite. You're kidding, right? You can't be serious. Anyway, we should bury that outside. Then we can go purchase fresh supplies. I told you, I don't go outside. Then how do you... Huh? A visitor? Who could it be? Perfect timing. You're a servant. Make yourself useful and go and retrieve the package. If it's not a delivery, but a wanderer, chase them off. What? Package? Master? Hold on a second. What are you talking about? Oh, he's gone. What kind of delivery is he expecting? Michael stood there, unmoving, veiled in shadow. He glanced over at me, then threw his gaze to the front door. At his command, I raised the bar, pulling the door open. After nearly 2 weeks inside, the light from the setting sun almost blinded me. The world went white, my head pounding. After a few moments of intense blinking, my eyes acclimated themselves to the evening sunlight. There was no one outside. Only a crate, easily large enough to fit a child. Is this a package? Master? I turned back to face Michael, but he wouldn't meet my eyes, though it seemed more like he was avoiding looking at the light than at me. He's starting to seem more and more like a vampire. Not that I believe in vampires, of course. Regardless, I pray there's nothing bad in here. That's heavy. Master, could I get some help? Gee, thanks. I am a servant, admittedly, but this is a lot to ask of just one girl. A little help would sure be nice. Once it's inside, close and bar the door, he said dispassionately, his head still turned toward the darkness. As you wish, master. Once the door was shut, I found myself sucked back into a world of darkness. It hadn't even been 2 weeks, but the lack of sunlight was beginning to become my normal, the outside world growing further and further away. Being holed up in here is definitely not good for me. I should go for a walk sometime, maybe plant some flowers or vegetables. Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe I can grow that old tangle of roots into some fresh parsnip. What else do we have to plant? It'd be great if there were some flower seeds. What are you doing? Open the box, now. As you wish, master. Oh, there's food inside? In the box was a burlap sack filled with berries, root vegetables, and smoked meat, as well as an assortment of bread, fruits, and wine. Aside from the fruit and bread, everything else was the same as what Michael kept in the cellar. And buried beneath the burlap sack was a single book. 1 book a month. He really hasn't gone outside in 10 years. It appears you have begun to grasp the situation. Yeah. But why? This was delivered by someone from your house, master, wasn't it? A servant, I assume. Why would they leave without saying anything? No one wants to talk to a cursed man. In the past, they would occasionally check in on me, but that hasn't happened recently. They think you're cursed? Ah, right. You don't believe in curses. Then come up with your own explanation. An excuse for them to want to stay away from me. That, for example, I killed someone. Or maybe that I'm insane. I couldn't. Regardless, I am not normal. Bring the food down to the cellar. The book in the library. You are, of course, free to refuse and run off back into the woods. I'll do it. All right. Then you take care of that. Hey! What is it? I just noticed there's something else in here. It's wrapped in cloth. What could it be? Ooh, a painting! For you to hang up somewhere in the house, I presume. It's so dark. I can't see it very well, but I'm sure it's... Don't touch that! What? Michael, who kept his distance from me until that point, suddenly marched over and ripped the painting from my grasp. Master! His face was twisted into a look I had never seen him make before. Was it indignation? Disgust? Hatred? Panic? I couldn't tell, but there was more than enough negative pressure to cause me to flinch back. Is that painting perhaps, something important? A landscape painting, he muttered under his breath, the tension melting away from his face. I was left looking at his usual blank, impenetrable expression, but his eyes were still fixated on the picture, staring at it unblinkingly. Why a landscape painting? Some kind of passive-aggressive message? It's not of anywhere nearby. Did they travel somewhere? Well, it's not of that girl, so that's an improvement. Master? Oh, you're still here? Still here? Of course I'm still here. Who do you think you asked to take care of the package? What's with you just running over and snatching the painting from me? You scared me. Could you maybe explain yourself? So, what's so special about that painting? I don't believe that's any of your business. None of my... Of course it is. You ripped it out of my hands like I was some kind of thief. I have a right to know what that was all about, and maybe an apology while you're at it. You told me to open the box, so I did. Then all of a sudden you're angry? We are not equals. Do not mistake yourself for my friend. You have a right to know. You have no such thing. You don't have to be rude. I'll say it again. Leave if you don't like it here. I never asked for you to be here. That was your wish. My wish? Are you out of your mind? I never asked for this. I never wished for it. Who in their right mind would want to be sent to some house in the middle of nowhere? Who would ever want to go through that? No, calm down, Giselle. You can't get angry. You're right. This is what I wanted. But I never wanted to make you mad, or for us to argue like this. I just wanted to get to know you better, or get closer to you. I mean, it would make things smoother for the both of us. It would make living together more enjoyable for us. Listen carefully. This is very important for you to understand. Do not try to involve yourself with me. Do not go probing about for information. And if you can't do that, leave. I completely shut out. The glare he was giving me and the standoffish aura he was emanating were reflected in his tone of voice. Why? Why did he try to push me away like that? It seemed Giselle really didn't know much about me. Despite being sent here from my house, she was unaware of the monthly deliveries, as well as the reason why I lived in the mansion all by myself. Why, though, would they have not told her anything? Why had she been sent here left completely in the dark? Giselle looked up at me, fear and bewilderment in her eyes, though I thought I could see a glint of suspicion beneath it all. Like her true feelings were bubbling to the surface. Everyone had darkness in them they kept hidden. No one was exactly who they appeared to be. She was undoubtedly thinking, I'm not here because I want to be. I knew from the moment I first saw her that her bubbly, sweet effect was all a facade. Had she thought I was dense enough to not realize? She was no different than anyone else. What I didn't understand, though, was why she refused to leave no matter how hard I pushed. What was she hiding beneath that innocent-looking face? What was she thinking? What did she carry on her shoulders? Everyone is hiding something, deceiving those around them. I had to figure out what she really was. May I ask you something? Yes? On the day you arrived, you said you made a teeny tiny mistake while working at my family's house. Tell me about that. What did you do at the Bollinger estate? In that moment, brief though it was, her disposition wavered. Fear, terror, no, perhaps anger. I couldn't tell. Nevertheless, it was abundantly clear that that was a subject she had no interest in me breaching. And so she had borne her fangs. The smile she donned now was visibly forced. It's nothing you need concern yourself with, Master. I promise, it was an insignificant little thing. She couldn't say. Why couldn't she tell me? What had she done there? What did this woman know about that house? What did she know about me? What was concealed beneath that smile of hers? I am the master of this house, and you are a servant, and you still refuse to tell me? Like I said, it's nothing. There's no reason to bother you. With a mere servant's personal blunders, Master. What are you hiding? I'm not hiding anything. Then you should be able to tell me exactly what you did at the Bollinger estate. Like I said, tell me. Tell me. You won't tell me a thing about yourself, and yet you demand others to tell you about themselves. Here you are, practically threatening me, demanding I tell you something I don't want to talk about, and yet you still haven't told me anything about that painting. Oh, so I was right. You do have something to hide. How many times must I repeat myself? We are not equals. I don't care if it's insignificant or something you don't want to talk about. What? I'm ordering you to tell me. A trifling blunder would not get someone sent to live with a cursed man in a house spoken of so unfavourably. Whatever she had done at the Bollinger estate, that had something to do with why she was here. If she truly hadn't done anything, then she had something to gain from this place, or possibly from me. And if that was the case, I had to get her to talk. No, make me. Giselle's eyes were wide open. I recognized the look she was giving me. I knew very well what that gaze meant. You're an abomination! It was the same as them. Fear, contempt, revulsion, repulsion. The way she acted, the way she spoke, it was exactly the same. You're no different. I made her uncomfortable. I made her afraid. She thought I was unpleasant. She thought I was despicable. She thought I was. She thought I was an abomination. In a frenzy, I grabbed her by the shoulders, clamping down far more powerfully than I had meant to. Ow! Stop! Her face contorted in pain, morphed into someone else's. Who was I directing my anger at? Where was this rage being aimed? Who are you calling an abomination? What? Tell me, who? The black fury bubbling up from within me knew no end. The girl, she ridiculed me. She denied my identity with her glare. I couldn't escape from that phantom, that reality. What? I never called you a... No! Get away from me! Get your hands off me! Giselle's scream echoed in the entrance hall, rattling my eardrums. She frantically smacked my arms aside, and then I came back to my senses. She was standing a little ways away, breathing heavily, arms wrapped around tight her body, glowering at me, showing her opposition to my touching her. Enlightening. No. You just, you startled me, that's all. Some servant you are, telling your master not to touch you. Oh, right. I have, I'm, allergic to people. It's a very unique condition, I hear. I mean, can you believe that? See? You know how some people get all red and itchy when they touch a dog or cat? It's that, except for people, so, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I beg your forgiveness. Why don't you speak your mind? What? This is what's going through your mind right now. I have nothing to apologize for. No, that's not. I can somewhat sympathize with your plight, being made to apologize even though you're hurting. I raised my hand against you first, after all. Then you forgive me? Sympathy does not equate to forgiveness. Now, you take care of the package. I'm heading back to my chambers. What is it? You're not going to make me leave after what I just did? No, I am not. For what it would seem, I can make you leave on your own whenever I so please. Besides, I had yet to learn what she had done. It would be exceedingly difficult to get the story from her own mouth, which left me with one option: to write a letter to my mother, as much as the very thought revolted me. Several days had passed since the package arrived. The end of my 3rd week living in the mansion was drawing near. Michael wasn't getting any friendlier either. He continued to either snub or bluntly dismiss me whenever we crossed paths. I didn't understand why he acted that way around me. But there was little point in asking when he seemed to think there was little point in talking to me at all. Although at first I had been sure there was some way to get him to warm up to me, the more time I spent in the mansion, the more my willpower began to feel like it was at its breaking point. I could tell myself to stay positive until I was blue in the face, but it would only work for so long. The one pretty place in this whole house. I'm glad he hasn't covered it back up. Blue moonlight shone quietly through the stained glass window, vainly illuminating some of the room. I hadn't noticed until now, but the room with the stained glass window appeared to be modelled after a chapel. Rows of pews faced the window, below which sat what used to be a pulpit. There was very little left of it, though, and an awkward length of silver was mounted to the pulpit's front face. What was, I assume, formerly a cross. Upon further reflection, rather than facing the window, the pews seemed to be pointed at the pulpit, or perhaps the cross hanging on it. I wasn't sure why there would be a chapel in a mansion, but I had no one to ask about it. For a house of this size, a statue of Christ or the Virgin Mary seems more appropriate. It's a very well-made chapel at any rate. I doubted Michael had had it built for himself. There would be no reason for him to cover the window if that were the case. Nor had I ever seen him come to pray. He doesn't seem like one to believe in God. God. I'm not even sure if God really existed, then surely the world would be a much more pleasant, peaceful place. No unfair disparities in money or power, no senseless misfortune. I certainly wouldn't have found myself here either. But God was evidently quite fond of giving mankind trials, so he would probably tell me with a straight face that this was one too. Or perhaps we simply had a false impression of him, and he didn't actually give us anything interesting. He merely sat back and watched from somewhere far, far away. It wasn't his job to bring peace to the world or ensure our laws were fair. That was all mankind's responsibility. What is God? What are angels? I have no idea. Maybe the Bible has answers. Why should I pray to someone so far away? How do I know my prayer is even getting there? But still, it's not like I have any other options. Don't you worry. It'll all work out, promise. I already know where I'm going to work. It's a really prominent noble house, way out of reach of some small-time merchants like us. You never know, this could be my big break. Oh, I'm just kidding. Don't look so worried. I'll be just fine, honestly. I'll make enough money for us to get back onto our feet. Oh, for goodness sake, I can handle it. Leave everything to me. You just wait. I'll make our family into something you can be proud of. I'll be fine. Yeah, say bye to Mum for me. I probably won't be home for a while. What? You're afraid I'm going to make some careless mistake? I'm not that airheaded. I can be a refined and elegant young lady. Those nobles won't even know what to believe anymore. If you don't believe me, how about I give you a little taste? Ahem. How are you doing this fine morning, master? Your morning beverage is ready, prepared with the utmost of care. See, how about that? Not bad, huh? What? You really think it sounded forced? I was the daughter of a merchant who ran a shop on the capital's main street. My father had passed away in a plague, so it was just me, my mother, and my older sister. It would be a lie to say business was going well. We struggled to squeak by day to day after taxes, but we couldn't just abandon the shop and leave the capital either, so we tried to make the best of what we were able to take in between the three of us. Then my sister fell in love with a moderately well-off aristocrat. My mum and I were supportive of her and her desire to marry, but their union almost fell apart because she was not suitable for him. Merchants were hardly the lowest class. What we lacked instead was wealth. We needed another source of money beyond what the shop took in. If only we had money, my sister could get married. If only we had money, my mum wouldn't have to work so hard. If only we had money. It was then that someone from the distinguished Bollinger estate approached me. He said they were in need of Abigails and would love to have me. He said that if I agreed to work for them, the Bollinger estate would take care of my family. Generally speaking, noble houses took Abigails from other, lower-ranked noble houses. It was unthinkable for someone of my status to receive such an offer. So I took it as a once-in-a-lifetime chance and accepted the offer. I just pray that nothing bad happens to my sister. And that Mum is getting enough money to live comfortably. That's all I can do. They're nobility. They have plenty of money. Enough to spare some. The light shining through the stained glass window began to grow murky, fading into blackness. It felt like a message from on high that no, my prayers would not be answered. The bluish-white illumination shining down on me disappeared as clouds blocked the moon. Oh, come on. You don't even want to look at a sullied woman like me? Oh, for heaven's sakes. I never asked to end up like this. They're nobility. They have plenty of money. Enough to spare some. Oh, come on. You don't even want to look at a sullied woman like me? Oh, for heaven's sakes. I never asked to end up like this. Giselle was sitting at one of the pews in the room with the stained glass window. Just looking at her, you might have thought she was offering a prayer, but the words coming from her mouth were anything but prayerful. They were filled with resentment. They have plenty of money. A sullied woman. And then I never asked to end up like this. So this is what's beneath that facade. Most likely, money's what she's after. All I need to do now is confirm my suspicions with them. Just what awful secrets will I uncover? I gave Giselle, sitting in the pew with her head dropped, a cursory glance before leaving the chapel. I had somewhere else to be. The bitterly cold outside air felt like dozens of needles flowing into my lungs. It had been so long since I had stepped beyond the mansion's walls. A thick mist canopied the night sky, blocking out the moonlight. Naturally, the heavens did not rejoice at my leaving the house. It had been 10 years since I had seen the mansion from the outside, and it hadn't changed one bit. A gloomy scar upon the earth, shrouded in darkness. Hardly the kind of place someone would enthusiastically approach. Nevertheless, It was better than that house. Yes? Who is it? Michael. What? Michael? Bollinger? Just one moment. I'll be right there. Come in. It's a humble abode, but make yourself at home. Wow, I must say this is rather unexpected. Just one word and I would have been up there in a heartbeat. And how was I supposed to know that? I am, regrettably, fresh out of carrier pigeons. Right. Yes. My apologies. This man, living in a small cottage not far from the mansion, had been hired by the Bollinger family. His job? To watch over me. That said, we never actually interacted. He was tasked with keeping track of whether I was still alive and whether I remained in the mansion. The monthly package from my family was delivered to him, which he then passed on to me. It was insipidly convoluted, but it was indicative of how much they wanted to avoid anyone learning about me. Well then, what can I do for you? The manservant was visibly rattled. Afraid, too, but not because of the difference in our social ranks. I had a pretty good idea what he had been told about me. He was afraid of me, or more specifically, my curse. People fear that which they cannot comprehend. Not just children, adults as well. They fear demons, witches, and curses, anything impure or not of this world. I had long since gotten used to being viewed as such. It didn't sadden me, it didn't disappoint me, it didn't pain me. Some things were too foolish to concern yourself over, though it certainly doesn't make me feel good either. I was, on some level, annoyed. That woman's appearance at the mansion had created ripples in my once tranquil life, so before I got into the real reason for my visit, I decided to take out a bit of my frustration. Raise your head. There's no need to be afraid. I don't know what you've been told, but I promise I won't bite. How rude of me. You're right. My sincerest apologies. Your job is to keep watch over me. If the mere sight of me has you trembling, what will you do if I try to run? I would have little trouble escaping. That would be quite unfortunate. What would I ever tell your mother? I'm not sure that would end well at all. You could lose everything you've been paid so far. In fact, you might be lucky to get out with your life. Surely your mother would not. You are aware of who you're dealing with, right? Michael, the cursed youngest son of the Bollinger family, who made a pact with the devil. I don't need a blade to take your life. You wouldn't even make it back to report anything. Have mercy, Lord Michael. Please, do not leave the mansion. Please, spare me. I'm only joking. What? I don't have the power to kill by way of curse. The man fell silent, but the look on his face said, You are cursed, though, aren't you? Once someone's got an idea planted in their head, it's nigh impossible to get rid of it. I am cursed so that anyone can see it, that I need to be locked away in a dark mansion. I'm here because I had a question for you, not warn you that I plan to run away. A question? For me? Yes. Approximately 3 weeks ago, a black-haired woman came to the mansion. Tell me what you know about her. I was told there would be an Abigail coming, but that's all. I don't know anything else about her. I swear, that's all I know. I haven't been told anything else. I believe you. I never thought they would tell you anything. Right. He had been hired to observe me, but that's all he was.
a hired hand. He wouldn't be privy to the Bollinger family's internal affairs. Take this.
A letter?
I need you to deliver it to my mother.
You could have just left it in the box from this month's package and I would have collected it when I dropped off the next one.
I am in urgent need of information. Will you do this for me?
Yes. Why, yes, absolutely. I'll fetch a delivery boy tomorrow morning.
Much appreciated. Good night.
You too. Do take care. Lord Michael?
Yes?
Is it true that you don't have...
Would you like me to sew your mouth shut so you can never open it again?
No, not at all. My sincerest apologies, Lord Michael. That was horribly disrespectful. Good night.
Cursed, I most certainly am. My mother's response arrived just 10 days later. The delivery boy must have pushed his horse quite hard. It was almost exactly a month after Giselle had moved in. And shortly thereafter, on a bone-chilling night, everything came crashing down. The rift between us grew deeper, and the wall between us impossibly high. When I lay bare the scars in her chest and mercilessly plunged my knife into them. How did we get to this point? Oh, I hate everything. My spirits were getting darker and darker, like they were slowly sinking into a deep morass. I had been at the mansion for a month, and every day since felt twice as long as it should have. I had been optimistic at first. I had even had a little hope that me and Michael could get along together. But it hadn't taken long for that hope to be shattered, and the cheer locked away inside me. We lived in the same house, but we never spoke anymore. On the few occasions we did cross paths, he just gave me a cold glare and nothing more. Scorn and suspicion in his eyes. Whenever he looked at me like that, it felt as though my throat was being constricted, like I was deep underwater and running out of air, like my very presence in the world was a crime. I never could have imagined just how agonizing constant rejection was. I started despising others, despising myself, despising the world. Convinced there was no one who could set me free, I considered running away from everything rather than live like this another day. But I would have done so long ago if that were actually an option. If they found out I had fled, that I had acted outside their wishes, my mum and sister would pay. I had succeeded in allowing my sister to get married and my mum to live comfortably. I had given them happiness. I couldn't take that away from them again. Not after what I had to go through to do it. No. Cut that out. Getting way too depressing, Giselle. Pull yourself together. That's not who you are. Be positive. The negativity didn't only come from my interactions with Michael either. No. There seemed to be some kind of terrible presence within the mansion that twisted people's hearts. The mansion was, in fact, a bit of a local legend where I had been informed about before being sent here. People claimed it was cursed and that an evil witch had lived in it for many, many years. Michael joked that he was the witch, but I didn't believe him. I'm not usually one to believe in magic or curses at all. But being here so long, I can't help but wonder. Anyway, things can't go on like this. If I was to remain in this house, the situation needed to improve a lot. I was going to lose my mind if things kept up as they were. I was ready to give up once, but I'm going to try closing the distance between us again. If I could get him to open up even the tiniest bit, then maybe that would make living here a little easier. I wasn't going to try to make us best friends or anything, just repair our relationship enough that being around each other wasn't torturous. I've got my work cut out for me. How do I even begin that conversation? Heck, what is that conversation even going to be about? Maybe I should hold off, do it another day. No, I've made up my mind to do this. I should get to it quickly. The longer I wait, the worse things are going to get. And eventually, there won't be any fixing anything. We need to talk. We need to be in the same room for more than 10 seconds, and we need to get to know each other. He needs to know that he's not the reason I have something to hide. Okay, let's do this. I made my way to Michael's chambers, which he had told me to stay away from. My stride was slow and ponderous, but at the very least I did my best to keep some semblance of a smile on my face. This is one time where I'd really like to have someone to give me a little nudge. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay. Pardon, Master. There's something I'd like to talk to you about. Master? I guess he's not here. The door wasn't locked. As was the rest of the house, his room was shrouded in darkness. The only light came from the candle in my hand. Master? Are you there, Master? I guess I missed him. It's probably best if I don't stick around for long. He's already got a less than stellar impression of me. I don't want to imagine what'll happen if he thinks I've been snooping through his room. Yeah, I should get out of here. I spun on my heels, taking a step toward the door, when I caught sight of an object draped in a black sheet. I knew I had to get out of there as quickly as possible, but I was intrigued by that object. Something he kept hidden in a room I was forbidden to enter. Maybe it was a clue to discovering Michael's secrets. I reached my hand down toward the object, knowing good and well I shouldn't. Was it because I wanted to learn more about him? Was it because I wanted to tear down the veil he hid behind? Or was it the whispers of the witch? What do we have here? I pulled off the sheet, revealing a framed painting of what appeared to be a noblewoman with porcelain white skin. What stood out about her, though, was the woman's hair was as pale as her skin. And then... what? I noticed something else. Wide gashes ravaged the canvas, damaging her face beyond repair. What the... I imagined it had once been a painting of a beautiful woman, but there was hardly a trace of that left. The only feeling that inspired any more was a deep chill. This damage was not accidental. It was deliberate, angry, and the content emanating from within the frame was stifling. Thick, suffocating blackness seeped into me. Why would anyone... She was surely a most beautiful woman, angelic even. A storm of questions assaulted me. Who was she? Why had her face been carved up? Why had the paintings been covered? What had happened? Who could have? There's only one person who could have done this. Michael, why on earth? You saw it, didn't you? You saw the painting, didn't you? You entered my room without permission, and you saw the painting, didn't you? Angelic, you say? There's nothing angelic about that damned woman. I scrambled to make some excuse, but nothing would come out of my mouth. All I could do was tremble. Why did you enter my chambers?
My...
What were you looking for? Answer me. My mouth wouldn't move properly. I couldn't make my voice come out. It was like I wasn't even in my own body anymore. The wisps of air that were drawn into my lungs were expelled as hoarse gasps. My breaths were shallow and rapid. I was inhaling, but I wasn't getting any air. I was terrified. Terrified. Terrified, terrified, terrified of his eyes, of his voice, of his feelings, of the knife he was holding up to me, of the terrible past I was chained to. The man's voice, the man's very flesh terrified me. What were you trying to find? And what were you planning to do with it? Answer me! Another thing you refuse to tell me then? No, I'm trying. Nothing's coming out of my mouth though. Everything's so bright and I can't catch my breath. I can't breathe. That's fine though. You don't have to tell me. I have a pretty good idea. An idea? What do you mean?
Money is what brought you to the Bollinger estate. And it's what brought you to me too. There are countless people who would love to see that house fall, and a noble family fears nothing more than disrepute. You were, I presume, approached by someone scheming the Bollingers' downfall.
No.
And it just so happens the Bollingers have a very unfortunate secret. One they were quite desperate to keep under wraps. Me. Somebody suspected I might still be alive, so they sent you to dig up information about me. My very existence threatens to tear down that house. The cursed young son of the Bollinger family, Michael, who made a pact with the devil, who is supposed to be dead, but is very much alive. You sweet-talked your way into that house and into information about me and my present situation, and you meant to trade that information for money. I bet whoever it was put quite a handsome price on it, too. Or maybe the one plotting to ruin the Bollinger family is you.
No, that's not true.
Then enlighten me.
Please, hear me out. I didn't know anything about you. I wasn't sniffing around or trying to bring you harm in any way.
Then tell me, if that's not the reason you wormed your way into the Bollinger estate, and that's not what you're doing here, then tell me what is. Tell me why you came to this mansion.
You want me to tell you about that? No way. That's asking too much.
Tell me.
I swear, I haven't done anything to wrong you. I simply wanted to make our life together a little more comfortable, to bring some warmth to this frigid relationship we have. That's the only reason I wanted to find out more about you.
I must assume I'm right then, Giselle.
I must tell him he's wrong. I must tell him I mean him no harm. But I can't say anything.
A merchant's daughter became an Abigail at a noble house. Could you come up with a more obvious lie?
Your father's the one who...
Wait, how does he know that I'm from a merchant's family? You look perplexed. I may be imprisoned in this house, not free to move about as I please, but I have my ways. I know everything.
Everything? Then he knows about that. too. Oh, yes, I do know. Please, don't. In your quest for money, don't say it. You slept with my father. In that moment, Michael plunged his knife into my heart. He carved through my chest with those words, causing me to completely lose control of myself. In a panicked frenzy and probably screaming all the way, I knocked the man aside and ran and ran and ran. I could hear a clap of thunder in the distance. Oh, how I wished a bolt of lightning could come crashing down upon me. Maybe if God burned my tainted flesh with a divine thunderbolt, he would get rid of some of the filth. But the jagged streaks of light cascading across the dark clouds did not strike me, only creating relentless grumbles in the sky. Why? I knew that if I fled that mansion, I would likely be causing trouble for my mum and my sister. But I was helpless to stop myself. All I could do was run from that threatened me with no regard for the consequences. Before long, small droplets of rain began falling, which soon grew heavy enough to penetrate the forest canopy and reach the ground where I stood. The downpour drowned out my tears and my cries, because I had rushed from the mansion without even putting on a cloak. Each cold winter droplet stung bitterly against my flesh, but the bite of the rain was like a warm embrace compared to what I'd been through before. Michael had spoken the truth. As much as I wanted to deny it, to avert my eyes, reality was forever engraved in this body. No, I don't want to think about it. I had no say in the matter. Get out of my head! Come over here, Giselle. Okay. May I ask why you asked me here so late at night, Master? Oh, I just wanted to have a little chat. Care for some wine? Come closer. I'll pour you a glass. I had this wine imported from up north. They use very hard water, and like it rather tart, so it leaves quite the lasting impression on your tongue. And yet, it goes down so easily, you just can't seem to stop. What do you say? Have a sip? Or does your expertise as a trader allow you to evaluate a wine's quality without tasting it? No, but please, Giselle, don't trample all over my good graces. Very well then, I will have a sip, Master, but no more. Have you ever considered growing out your hair? Having long hair made it difficult to do my job. You're not a merchant anymore, though. You deserve to look like the woman you truly are. I have no doubt longer hair would accentuate your natural beauty. It's a gorgeous shade of black, so deep a man could get lost in it for years. It would contrast the colour of your skin fabulously. Highlight your eyes, your cheekbones, your nape, your shoulders, and your chest. I should get going. Oh, but we're not done talking yet. I would not want the lack of sleep to interfere with my ability to work tomorrow. Thank you very much for the wine, it was delicious. Huh? No need to be so cold-hearted now. From the moment I first laid eyes on you... Master, that's enough fooling around for one night. No, don't be afraid. I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. I simply want to express my love. Let go of me. I only came here to work, nothing more. The first time I saw you, I thought it would be a tragic waste to leave you to wither away working at some little street-side shop. Stop! You can't tell me you didn't know a merchant girl had no place in a house like this, even as a servant. There's only one reason you would be allowed here. No, I swear, it never even crossed my mind. It would seem you're even more innocent than you look. But you figured it all out by now, haven't you? No. Let go of me. Stop this. Keep your voice down. Do not shout, Giselle. If anyone were to find out about this, you would be the one shouldering the consequences, not me. But you're a maid, and I'm the master of the house. Whose word do you think holds more weight? Don't worry, I won't do anything to hurt you. I promise. Your family will be exceptionally well taken care of. Your mother will have the comfortable life you wanted for her. But you know what will happen if you raise a fuss and make a fool of yourself. Not only will your family not get any of our money, and not only will your sister not get to marry, you'll all spend the rest of your lives on the street. How could you be so cruel? This is blackmail. Blackmail? For a merchant's daughter, you don't know much about trade, do you? Then let me give you a little lesson about market value. The goods you're after, Giselle, are not cheap. Understand? Now, let me see that beautiful body of yours. He was an older man, so I hadn't expected him to be very strong. But I couldn't break free of his grip. I found myself entirely at his mercy. Beneath the gaudy outfits lay a hungry beast, and I was seeing the creature's true colours for the first time that day. The aging man ran his disgusting, slobbery tongue across my exposed skin. Everything he placed his hands upon withered away. Every piece of flesh he pressed his lips against putrefied, rotted, decayed, rankled. I trembled in revulsion, at which the man laughed, seemingly interpreting it as something else. I wondered what kind of place hell was. If hell's wardens only flayed and carved their prisoners, I would have preferred that instead. I would have rather been sliced into tiny little chunks and cast into the hellfire. I would have chosen eternal torment over being touched by this man another second. But I didn't get to choose my hell. Eventually, the man forced open the gates I had been holding fast and spread his festering death inside me. Listen to me, Giselle. It's in both of our best interests to keep this between the two of us. If you can do that, I'll continue to do good by you and your family. Oh, don't look at me like that, please. I'm thrilled to have you here in this house, Giselle. She has long since lost her mind after all. It's torture just being in the same room. And my sons, they hardly ever come home. But you, Giselle, you give me colour to my dull life. You make it exciting once again. Now, go back to your room. I'll be waiting here at the same time next week. I couldn't escape from that man's grasp. Not when he used my family against me. Some weeks, I would just not go to his chambers, my one feeble means of resistance. But when I did that, he would send another Abigail to find me the next day. I couldn't ignore his summons when he got other people involved. And then, when the two of us were alone, the mask would come off, and he would discipline me for not showing up before taking care of his usual business. On good days, he would leave bruises in inconspicuous places, my abdomen, my inner thighs, but he went as far as carving a word into my skin with a knife. Harlot. That was why I was afraid of knives. That was why I was afraid of men shouting. I wasn't even sure what to regret anymore. I was in far too deep. There was no turning back the clock. I even considered taking my own life on more than one occasion, but every time the thought crossed my mind, happy memories came with it. Back when it was just the three of us girls in the shop. Life may not have been easy, but it was never dull either. I didn't want to end my life at its absolute lowest point. I wanted, if just temporarily, to go back to the way things were back then. That objective was the only thing that allowed me to keep going. When I was in his presence, I tried to convince myself I was merely an object. I had no emotions, so he couldn't hurt me. I was merely a vessel, a construct of flesh and bones. His hands couldn't reach my heart, for it was not connected to my body. Doing that made it a little easier to bear, but the reality was, it was impossible to completely sever my heart from my body.
You're Giselle, aren't you?
One day, the mistress of the estate stopped me in the halls. She had, supposedly, once been quite beautiful, but now she was only haggard and bony. Her skin dry, her eyes sunken, her hair faded and stripped of its luster, her head down, her cracked lips barely moving as she spoke. Age didn't appear to be the only thing working its merciless magic on her either. There seemed to be something eating away at her from the inside too, something that could burst at the lightest touch. Yes, I am Giselle. Is there something I can do for you? The mistress rarely left her chambers. I had been told it had been years since she attended family supper. So what would bring her to come looking for someone like me?
It's you.
What? I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer.
You're having relations with my husband, aren't you?
You are, aren't you? Madam.
You wretched creature! She was telling me the truth. One of my trusty maids caught a glimpse of you through a crack in the door. She saw you with him, you filthy rat. You seduced my husband. You devil. You conniving witch. You don't get it, do you? You don't realize how grievous your sin is, do you? Someone, anyone, restrain this girl. She's a demon, a devil. Tie her up and hand her over to the clergy. No, that won't be enough. A witch. You have to burn her bones, scatter the ashes, or she'll just come back to life. Yes. Execute her. Kill this woman. Burn the witch. Steal the piece she's stolen from me. Cursed. It's cursed. This house. It's cursed. Not only has it taken away my daughter, now it's trying to take away my husband. Oh God, please shine thy cleansing light upon this house.
I knew it would be a waste of breath trying to talk to her. She was not in sound mind. There was madness in her eyes. I didn't even have to make a fuss about it. It happened all on its own. If there was no way around it, then I should have just done it myself after the first time. I didn't have the energy to argue with her, or to cry, or to shout. Before long, a crowd began to form around me and the sobbing mistress, and in it stood him. I assumed he would just stand back and watch, but to my surprise he stepped in, and with an embarrassed look on his face, to try to settle his wife down and convince her not to have me executed. Maybe he did have a heart after all, or maybe he just wanted to save face. Regardless, instead of being burned at the stake, it was decided I would be sent away to some remote forest. One of the previous Bollinger family heads had purchased a mansion there long ago, but had been abandoned because of the stories people told about it. They said a cursed witch dwelled in the house. She had returned to life after being executed and now skulked about in the darkness. It was the perfect place to banish a sinner. And so, accused of adultery, I was in a carriage on my way out of the capital the next day. I hope my mum and sister are all right. The two of them will believe in me, even if no one else does. The wooden wheels turned, carrying me away to that cursed mansion. Just a silent coachman and his single sullied passenger. Looking out through the window, I could see the city walls slowly fading into the distance behind us. I doubted I would ever step foot in this land again, ever cross the Grand Pont again. It was a saddening reality, but in the same time, I felt a surge of relief. I had finally escaped from that house. I had finally escaped from that man. The sense of freedom slightly lessened the weight of everything else I was feeling. A good while after we left the capital, the coachman handed me a letter. On the sheet of parchment was a rather startling revelation. There was someone else already living at the house where I was to reside. The Bollinger's youngest child. But the letter didn't say why he had been sent to the cursed mansion, only that he was there. Beyond that, the letter only made a single request. That I look after him and not ask any questions. So I'm not just being sent off to the middle of nowhere. I still have work to do. If I look after whoever's at that mansion, then they'll do the same for my family? I don't have much say in the matter either way, I suppose. The carriage rattled and shook as it traversed the stony path, and bouncing around inside it, I resolved to take back my life, the peace I had once known, the cheerfulness I had lost, and to do so I would forget. Lock away my memories, bury every terrible thing that had happened to me, cast aside those memories and fill my smile once more. I have no idea who I'm going to find there, but they couldn't possibly do anything worse to me. I'll greet them with a smile and do my best to build up a decent relationship with them. I figured, since the both of us had been banished to the same cursed mansion, there would probably be other things we had in common, and so I would forget it all and get my life back, get my smile back. And that was everything that led up to me arriving at the mansion. All the wounds I never wanted to open again. I didn't want to think about that. I've been trying so hard to forget about it. I wanted to forget all about it. So why? Why did you have to make me remember? All I did was believe that we could make things work. Why? How could you? God, I can't take it anymore. Once the memories had broken free, they all flooded back with perfect clarity. Exactly how he ran his hands across me, exactly where he hit me, where he cut me, like I was going through it again this very moment. The rain was cooling me down on the outside, but so much nauseating heat had built up in my gut, I vomited all over the ground. I threw up and I threw up and I threw up until there was nothing left but bile. And when I had nothing left to expel, the strength evacuated from my knees and I collapsed. I didn't know if everything was blurry because of the rain, or because my eyes had decided they were done looking at anything. The whole world twisted before me. Michael's no different. My attempts to get close to him, to always keep a smile on, it was all a waste. The look in his eyes was terrifying, like he didn't believe in anything at all. So he probably wouldn't have believed me if I had told him the truth. If he's convinced I have an ulterior motive, there's probably no changing his mind. Such a cold rain. If I lie down here and go to sleep, I wonder if all the warmth will eventually drain from my body, and then I'll decompose and become part of the earth. You know, that might actually be nice. I'd like that. I always thought I didn't want to die, that I wanted to go back to the way things were. But who cares anymore? I did my best after all, and that still got me nowhere. Cheerful Giselle was all just a facade. And when I'm dead, all my worry for my mum and sister will fade away with me. Oh, God, I doubt you have a place for me on high. I am, after all, an unclean woman, and I've given up on living altogether. But even if I can't get into heaven, that's okay. I want release. The rain pitter-pattered down through the leaves overhead, chilling my skin. The cold spread through my flesh and into my bones, my heart and lungs and stomach freezing like a block of ice, my consciousness drifting away from me, and the world slipped through my fingers. More than fear, I felt relief. Utter black, and that, I was sure, was the end of me. And that, I was sure, was the end of me. I am, even now, putting her through a harrowing experience, digging up the memories she locked away, the past she wanted to pretend never happened, and laying it all out before her once more. But I must get her back to who she once was, even if it means forcing her to endure this. She must remember everything, because I need to know. Why did she become the maid? And what secrets does this house hold? You're Michael. Yes, my name is Michael. I am not the white-haired girl. The person you were searching for was the man who once hurt you deeply. Me. Why? What was her why referring to? Why did I hurt her? Or why am I here? Or perhaps why I didn't show up until now? Not having an answer for her, I clench her cold hands in mine. I wonder, were her hands this cold that night too? There's still more we need to see though, and it's still too soon for me to apologize. When she's gotten everything back, only then can I. Once she's reclaimed herself, That is when I must tell her. Now, let us return to our past. Our story has only just begun. No matter what we thought or what we desired, no matter what we lost or how much pain we suffered, we must not shut this door. Perfect darkness embraces us once more. I can see nothing, not even the woman beside me, but I shall not let go of her hand. I do not want her to slip away from me. I do not want to lose her.
Right.
Stay with me. Are you all right? Oh, thank goodness, you're awake. How's your head? Can you see me? What? You had me scared silly there. I thought I might have lost you for good. I'm really glad you're alive. Where am I? And who is this man? What was I doing? You feeling up for any food? I can whip up some porridge for you right quick. I was in the forest. It was raining. Before that, I was at the mansion. I feel sick, like there's something still in my stomach. No, thank you. I don't want anything. You really should have something. You need to keep up your energy. Unless you want to conk out again in an hour. Sounds good to me. I'd rather never wake up at all. You're not in the highest of spirits either, it seems. All the more reason to get something warm into you. Please, have something. I've got some milk on the fire. I bet you can handle a cup of that. You start losing all hope once the cold gets that deep in you. Reaches down to your core. Take me at my word, please. Just one sip. You'll feel like a whole new gal. A heart-wrenching pleasant aroma wafted up with the steam from within the wooden cup. Succumbing to the sweet smell, I lifted the cup to my lips for just one sip, and the warmth that spread through me brought tears to my eyes. Perhaps there really was kindness in the world. A ripple spread across the surface of the milk. I heard a gentle sigh come from the man beside me, after which he said with a smile, "You should take it easy for the day." I had lost the willpower to think about anything. I didn't care what had happened to me or why I was here, or he who was, or even where this was. I spent the whole day in bed, just watching the sun slowly slide across the wooden floor. It felt like I was somewhere far, far away. At times, I felt like a lost child, and at times like a sickly old woman on her deathbed. Watching the sun travel gave me a new, renewed awareness of the passage of time, and the fact that each moment that went by was another moment I was alive. I realized then that it had been a while since I had gotten more than a brief glimpse at any sunlight. It almost surprised me how colourful the world seemed beneath the sun's light, something I didn't get much of in the dark mansion. Only after losing something do you realize how much you need it. Warm milk, the light shining through the window, and a bed that smelled like springtime. With those three things, my heart slowly began to defrost, and I started to regain the willpower to stand on my own 2 feet. Thank you for everything.
You sure you're in any shape to be on your feet?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm not hurt.
You looked pretty beat up to me. But you look a lot better now. And you're talking a lot more clearly than before.
You've been very generous, despite having never met me before, and for that, you have my deepest gratitude. Without your help, I would no longer be in this world.
I don't deserve your thanks. You are alive now because God's guidance made it so.
God?
I came across you early this morning as I was heading into the forest to hunt. Imagine my surprise seeing a young lady like you on the ground in my path. What were you doing in the forest? You don't have to tell me if you'd rather not. Everyone's got their own share of personal problems.
You're not going to demand I talk?
I have no reason to force you to do anything. You looked like you'd been to hell and back.
What?
I could tell just looking at you. Now then, do you have somewhere you can go?
Somewhere to go? Of course I don't. I can't go back to the capital or the mansion.
If not, then why don't you stay here?
Here?
Sure, it's a small village. We're self-sufficient and we help each other out. No tax-hungry lords know we built the place up here either, so we keep everything we made. We're pretty remote as a result, and the harvest isn't fantastic, but I'm sure you'll find it comfortable here. The rest of the villagers will be glad to have you. What do you say?
Sorry, Mum. What I'm about to do might make the rest of the family's lives more difficult, but I don't want to have to feel any more pain. If I really wouldn't be inconveniencing you, if it's really okay, then yes, I would like to stay here.
That's great to hear. I was loath to send you back out there in your current condition. I haven't introduced myself yet, have I? The name's Amity. Just one lowly villager of many.
I'm Giselle.
Giselle, that's a beautiful name. If I'm not mistaken, there should be a vacant house. Clean it up and you can call it home.
I couldn't possibly ask for that. I doubt others would like it if I just took a house for myself.
That shouldn't be an issue. I'm the village's representative, more or less.
A representative? Like the chief?
Only in name, though. As I mentioned, we're not on any lord's map, so I don't have much representing to do. The only reason I ended up in charge is because I'm a bit more educated than anyone else. It was a long time ago, but I understudied with a priest. Because of that, I'm familiar with the Bible's teachings, so rather than a chief, the people of the village look at me more like a priest. Wouldn't be much fun if the church found out about that. They're liable to think I'm acting unordained.
Then you believe in God?
That's quite the question. Of course God exists. He's always watching over us. That's why you survived, because he protected you. I understand that your faith can waver when you're going through times of tribulation, but those are the times when it's most important to keep sight of who you are.
Right.
Now, you get some rest. Tomorrow I'll show you around the village.
Thank you. I truly mean it. I really, sincerely appreciate everything.
Don't mention it, Giselle. This is your village now too, so you don't need to act like a stranger anymore.
Okay. So, he's Amity. He seems like a nice man. Maybe here I can live in peace. It'll be all right, I'm sure. Yeah. I wasn't silly enough to believe my life would be perfect, but I had found a tiny fragment of my lost hope. While I had once been ready to give up on absolutely everything, I was starting to feel like I might be able to smile again, eventually. Like I might be able to get back on my feet. And in order to do that, I had to cast aside my past once more. Forget everything that had happened at the Bollinger estate and everything that had happened at the mansion. Forget about Michael. There was one niggling curiosity, though, that I couldn't shake. Something he had said before I left. My very existence threatens to tear down that house. The cursed youngest son of the Bollinger family, Michael, who made a pact with the devil, who was supposed to be dead,
but is very much alive. What had he meant by that? Why would people think he was dead? No, I don't care about Michael one bit. Forget it. Forget everything. The house was, as it had always been, wrapped in a thick silence. Giselle's shadow, which had been lurking in the halls for about a month, was nowhere to be found. She hadn't come back since running off that day. My secret was still safe. Her efforts had, in the end, all been for naught. Back to the way things were. But despite my mind telling me that it was for the best, I felt a kind of guilt seething in the back of my chest, and any attempts to figure out why only made me feel worse. But the look on her face then... Please, hear me out. I didn't know anything about you. I wasn't sniffing around or trying to bring you harm in any way. Was that really her just putting on an act because I revealed her scheming? She was screaming though, and she looked genuinely terrified when she knocked my hand away. I'm not falling for anything. I feel like I know that frenzied panic. Something doesn't add up. Be quiet. Silence, please. My head was pounding beyond belief. I couldn't stand anything. This world, the creature I was, the witches whispering, the archangel looking down upon me, seeming to be cackling from somewhere far out of reach. So for whatever it was worth, to escape from his gaze. I once again drew the drapes over the stained glass window.
Oh, it's someone new. Hey, where are you from? You gonna be here long? Are you? We hardly ever get visitors here, so they're downright awestruck by you. You'll be getting a lot of attention for a little, but please don't let it get to you.
No, that's just fine. I'll do my best to get along with everyone.
You got a spark in you that wasn't there yesterday. Anything in particular that cheered you up?
In particular, once I decided I was going to stay here, I just sort of started feeling better about things. And I figured I couldn't stay gloomy forever.
I see. Glad to hear it.
And it's all thanks to you, Amity.
Keep thanking me like that and my cheeks might get stuck red. In any event, I said I'd show you around yesterday, so how about we do that?
Lead the way.
That said, we're a modest little village of about 100. Everyone knows everyone.
For that size, it looks pretty big to me. Amadei taking the lead, we walked through the village, passing by crop fields and milk cows presumably shared among the villagers. Houses were scattered across an area that seemed far too large for only 100 people. Actually, getting a better look at them, the buildings were dilapidated, looking more like ruins than residences.
Once upon a time, this was a city rather than a village.
When your ancestors lived here?
Oh no, we're drifters. Fortunate enough to come across some decent looking land, so we stuck around.
How do you know what it was like before then?
There's quite a few stone tablets left behind, and based on what we were able to extract from their texts, this area used to be a large city with a booming economy rivaling that of the capital. There weren't hundreds, but thousands of people bustling about. Merchants from afar came in droves. It was much like how the capital is now. Actually, this area was more open to foreigners. People of all different races speaking as many different languages. It was evidently quite the sight and sound.
I had no idea there was a city here.
That's what happens when a place is wiped from history. I couldn't tell you how reliable the tablets are, but if you take them at their word, the city lost everything in just a single week.
What?
People, crops, livestock, all dead. Maybe it was a natural disaster, a famine, a plague. I can't say for sure. This is what the tablet said, though. We have been cursed by the witch.
Cursed? By the witch?
Look over there. You see that river? There used to be a magnificent bridge crossing it, but there's hardly anything left of it. If you continue along the path beyond the fallen bridge, there's a forest. That's where I found you. The deeper parts of the forest were so dense you can't see anything but tree trunks and leaves. It's an eerie place wrapped in a cloud of darkness. If you make it through that, there's a mansion, which is said to be cursed. The witch who supposedly destroyed this city lives in the house deep in the forest. She's been there for years and years and years, and she casts her curse on anyone who goes near it. The city was so large that the mansion was actually in its borders. My guess is the bridge was built to mark the road leading to it. Now, as you can see, the bridge is gone and the houses still standing are practically in ruins. But the mansion alone looks just like it did back then. The witch living in the mansion goes by the name Morgana. According to the record, someone by that same name was executed in this area for witchcraft. And even in death, she continues to bear her grudge against mankind. Who knows how much of it is true, though? Truth or fiction, the story has taken root in this region. The city's history may be lost, but the legend of the witch continues to be told. People have a tendency to keep stories alive that scare them. Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you.
No, I'm fine.
You're best staying away from the mansion in the forest at any rate. There's no saying what might happen if curiosity gets the better of you. Better safe than sorry if you ask me. Aside from the mansion, this is as peaceful a village as you'll find. I don't know where you came from, but I'm glad you didn't end up wandering up there.
I know all about the mansion and who lives there. I was there, after all, with Michael for a full month. But I don't remember any cursed witch, just a man with a bone-chilling glare. Maybe the rumours about a witch living there were spread by him, or perhaps even his family. I could see them doing that. But none of that matters to me anymore. I'm never going anywhere near that house again. The witch's curse, Michael, they're nothing to me. With nowhere else to go, I ended up in this small village. There was no denying that there was very little to speak of here, but I found peace in that nothingness. I couldn't have been more blessed that such a kind man had found me and welcomed me into his village. The village ran entirely on its own crops and livestock. They had no currency, merely bartered among themselves. Coming from a merchant's family, everything felt so new. I had never ploughed a large plot of land, milked a cow, or used a loom before. At first, I wasn't sure what to think, being such a departure from my lifestyle in the capital. But over time, I grew more comfortable with my new life, and the people of the village started thinking of me as one of them.
Come on, Giselle, play with us. We're playing hide and seek today.
I can't, sorry, I'm spinning yarn.
You can do that later. Come on, play with us.
Stop that. Don't pull on my skirt. Oh, all right, you win. When I'm done with this, I'll join you.
No ditching. We'll be down at the square, okay?
Got it. See you there.
The kids have taken quite a liking to you.
Oh, Amity. You think so?
They've been incredibly lively since you arrived. Children are more sensitive than adults.
Sensitive?
They're very perceptive of how others are feeling. If you begrudgingly play along, they'll pick up on that quickly. You like children, and that's a wonderful thing. There's not a good woman in the world who dislikes children.
Why, thank you. I don't think it's so much that I like them as much. I'm kind of like a big kid myself. I genuinely enjoy hide and seek. But that's not going to earn me any points.
I like kids too. Watching them. It gives me faith that this world has a bright future.
A bright future. I never looked at them that way. They seem to like you quite a bit too, Amity.
Thanks. Though I'd rather give my affection to my own kids.
Oh, you have children?
Oh, heavens no. I thought that was obvious enough. I'm talking about the future.
I see. But knowing you, Amity, I'm sure you'll find someone right for you and have kids of your own in no time.
It's not that easy, sadly. Even in such a small village, there are no ladies who would take interest in me.
You don't give yourself enough credit. I'm fully confident you'll find someone soon enough.
Do you really think so?
Absolutely.
Then perhaps you could be that person.
What? Pardon?
I won't pressure you into it, of course, but I think it would be marvellous to have you in my life in a bigger way.
But it's a little too soon for me to think about settling down like that.
It's pretty sudden, I admit. Take all the time you need to consider it.
All right. I have to go play with the kids now.
Have fun.
I wonder if he really meant it. Hamadi is a nice fellow, and I'm sure living here would be wonderful, but I can't help feeling something isn't right here. Why am I thinking about him? Now, of all times, that man has no redeemable qualities, not one. As it turned out, Hamadi was serious about his proposition, and he brought it up every time we ran into each other. Unable to give him an answer, I found myself constantly apologizing to him. Soon, winter started giving way to spring. On a day when the air still had a brisk winter bite and budding seedlings battled to break through the earth, the seams holding the village together began to come loose. That day, the village men were gathered in the square talking. They all had stern looks on their faces. It was clear something had happened. I obviously couldn't stick my head in, so I waited until they were done and called Hamadi. While it was rather awkward, I was still more comfortable asking him for information than anyone else.
Actually,
with a dejected look on his face, he started explaining.
Her lord found out about this village.
What?
And he said he's going to place this land under his rule, meaning he'll start collecting taxes. In addition, he's also demanding we pay 5 years' worth of back taxes for our unauthorized use of the land.
What? That's ridiculous.
Yes, it most certainly is. We obviously don't have the means to pay 5 years' taxes. There's no reason for him to take over this village at all. We're completely isolated from the surrounding area after all. But if we resist, he could send soldiers. It doesn't matter how absurd his claim to the village is. We have no choice but to comply.
That's terrible. What are we going to do then?
We're going to do as the Lord demands. The 5 years' taxes will have to be paid in installments. Some of the men suggested we abandon the land and find somewhere else. But it would take time to cultivate the land and plant new crops. It's no trivial task. We'll just have to make do with these changes. We'll use more of the land to grow and try to be more efficient. Will you help in the fields?
Of course. This village is my home now too.
Thank you, Giselle. It'll be different, but if we all pitch in, I'm sure we can get through this.
I thought the same thing. If we all worked together, we could make it through this rough patch. But the collection of taxes brought more than just a burden for everyone to share. It brought emotional strain and conflict to the village too. Your family has more hands to work in the fields.
I have a sickly child. You expect him to work any harder than he is?
I know you're hiding grain in your cellar. You'll have more than us. Let us keep the little grain.
You have more. No, you have more.
You both have more than us. When their comfortable lives fell under attack, the villagers' top priority became their own property. The cooperation was only temporary, and before long, everyone became a threat. The negative energy only built on itself, its growth accelerating like a boulder rolling down a hill. And it wasn't long before their sights fell on me, the outsider. Come on, get moving! Ow! Stop that! Why are you doing this? I'll stop once you've told us everything. Told you every what? One morning, a man dragged me from my house and took me to the square. There, the entire rest of the village was gathered, all eyes on me. What? What's this about? Oh, don't play stupid. We all know it was you. What was me? The thief. Amity? From the crowd appeared someone I knew quite well, the ever-affable village representative, the man who had saved my life. But in his eyes now,
I thought you were better than that,
was contempt, anger, scorn, so many different shades of negativity. I recognized what I saw in his glare immediately, as someone who had been subjected to those looks before. But why? For what reason was he looking at me like that? I couldn't make sense of what was happening, so I just stood there stupefied.
There's been a rise in reports of people having things stolen lately. This village is too small to attract bandits, though. Since the Lord now demands we pay him taxes, even the smallest item lost can have a dramatic impact on a family's living conditions. What you've done is no joke.
Wait a second. I haven't stolen anything. Why do you think
You've been seen in the act.
What?
So long as there is testimony against you, your guilt is assured.
Who says they saw me? I swear I didn't do anything. They're obviously lying. You're the one who's lying. You've been playing us for fools this whole time.
Everything was fine until you showed up. We managed to not get found until you showed up.
No, that's not my fault.
Giselle, apologize to the village and return what you've taken.
Amity, don't you believe me?
There were multiple witnesses. Several different people saw you stealing. I've known these people long enough to be family, and I trust them like family too. They're not liars.
But no, they're framing me. I didn't steal anything, I swear. Framing you? Now you want to put this on us, woman?
Unbelievable. Have you forgotten we welcomed you into our village?
Amity, please believe me. You of all people should believe me.
You've been avoiding me of late, haven't you?
What?
Because you had something to hide, correct?
No,
What other reason could you have to avoid me?
But why? How could he say these things? Why won't he believe me?
Now, return the things you've stolen.
I can't. I never stole anything. How am I supposed to return something I don't have?
I see. So you've already moved the stolen goods. She said she doesn't have them anymore, folks. How should we deal with this?
Rough her up till she talks. Yeah, she's not getting off that easy.
Give us back our property.
Why is this happening to me? The harsh new rulership has driven these people mad. I need to get away from this village, quick.
Restrain her!
No! Get your hands off me!
Have you forgotten everything we've done for you? All that matters is that you don't have to suffer, is that it?
I didn't. I didn't do anything.
Take her to my house. We'll make her tell us everything.
No. Stop. You've all gone mad. Please come to your senses. And with men on all four sides of me, I was dragged into Amadee's house. He sat coolly in a chair, and they shoved me to my knees before him.
I'll ask you this one more time, Giselle. Where did you put the things you stole?
And I'll keep giving you the same answer. I didn't take anything from anyone. Please believe me.
Do you swear with God as your witness?
I do. I swear with all my heart. You don't actually believe her, do you, Amadee? She's not only sold us out to a lord, she's now threatening to make our lives downright impossible. Again, that's just a coincidence. Listen to me, Amadee.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the woman hath committed 3 sins. She has lied, she has stolen, and she has betrayed her fellow man.
Why are you doing this, Amadee? You were such a good man.
I am deeply disappointed in you, Giselle. As much as I don't want to do this, I have to get the truth from you.
Amadee? Ah, of course. Why didn't I see it? I'm still just an outsider to them. Why would he believe a stranger's word over the word of the village, his family?
The water.
What? A man set a wooden well bucket on the floor in front of me. In it wasn't clean water from the well, though, but grimy, murky wastewater. I reflexively turned my head away from the stench, but a man behind me grabbed me by the hair, and before I had a chance to realize what was happening, the world around me went brown. I struggled with all my might to break free, but my arms were tied behind my back and I didn't have the strength to overpower the man holding my head down. Reflexively gasping for air, a stream of filthy water poured into my mouth.
Pull her out. We get nothing if she dies. Put her back in. And keep at it until she decides she's ready to talk.
No!
How unsightly. And to think I ever considered marrying this woman. We can stop whenever you want, Giselle. You just have to tell us the truth.
Please! Stop! I was given no time to rest. My head shoved into the bucket, then pulled out just long enough for me to steal a breath before going back in, over and over again. Not a person in that room objected to the abuse I was receiving. I had prayed for a good harvest with these people. They had taught me how to use a loom, something I had never touched before. We had laughed together, lived together. They were normal people. Perfectly ordinary, kind, helpful, friendly people. Not at all cruel or inhumane. But now they burned with a frenzy that overshadowed all my memories of them, and every gargle, gasp and grunt they got from me fueled that fire. Dozens of eyes laced with madness stared down upon me, rejoicing at my suffering. My consciousness was slipping away from me. I thought I could hear laughing and chattering, but it all passed through my ears as mere noise, nothing I could make sense of.
Won't. Hey, stay with me.
Amadee.
Oh, thank goodness you're awake.
Wait, what was I just doing? Oh, right. I was in the forest, on the verge of death, and Amadee found me, and
I almost lost valuable manpower there. We were just discussing what to do about you, Giselle, and we decided to make you village property.
No, he didn't save me.
If you agree to work for us, we'll put this whole nasty mess behind us. You may be worthless in the fields and terrible with a loom, but there's plenty you can help with.
What are you going to make me do?
You like getting your hands dirty? And considering I found you half dead in the forest, I doubt the rest of you is any cleaner.
Amity?
It seems we've come to an agreement. I'll keep watch over her starting today, to make sure she stays in line and doesn't steal anything else.
Dirty, stays in line. The way they're looking at me. They didn't have to spell it out. No. Anything but that. Please, have mercy.
If you're begging for mercy, that means you know what you've done something wrong.
Let's see.
There is one way, Giselle.
What?
Give back what you stole, naturally. But if you're going to insist that's not possible, then bring us something of equal value. And if you can't do that, then your life belongs to the village.
The men were cackling. They knew I couldn't do it, and they were enjoying watching me squirm.
Take your pick, Giselle.
Something of equal value. If I can get that, then you'll set me free. In that moment, a little bit of darkness bubbled up in my heart. Something maleficent whispered in my ear. If you are in need of money, help yourself to some of the furniture. There's a village not far from here. Trade it for food, then make your way to a larger town.
I think I know.
Where you can get something worth some money. The mansion in the forest has some fairly valuable furniture in it. Oh God, when did I become... You can steal some of that to sell for good money. Such a despicable woman.
You mean the cursed mansion?
You expect us to go there? Are you out of your mind? Anyone who goes near that house is killed by the witch's curse. There is no witch living there. There is no curse.
Giselle, what do you know about that mansion?
I lived there for a while. Well, for a month.
You what?
The son of a noble lives there. He's human, and he's alone.
A noble? What's a noble boy doing this far from the city?
I presume he was banished there. I was sent to the mansion from the capital to act as his servant. There was plenty of value in the house. Shelves lined with books. There should be more than enough to pay the lord 5 years' worth of taxes.
Is what you're saying true?
I would not lie. As bewilderment spread through Amity's house, I was unable to look at anything but the floor. I couldn't stop trembling. To protect myself, I had sold out Michael.
You swear there's just a single man living in that house?
Yes, it's only him.
All right. If it turns out you're lying, you'll pay. Okay, everyone, you heard her. Tell all the young men to get ready. We're going up to the mansion in the forest. And just to be safe, make sure everyone brings something they can use as a weapon. And you, Giselle, you're coming with us. You'll be leading the way. Listen to me. Don't think about trying to run.
Right. On the cusp of springtime, I found myself trekking through the dreary forest I had thought I would never set foot in again. How had I ended up here? How come I had never managed to avoid getting myself in these situations? And who would have guessed that my reason for returning to the mansion would be to loot it? I prayed for God to show even a little mercy and ensure Michael wasn't around, though I knew the chances of that happening were almost zero. After several hours of walking, we broke through the thick woods and the mansion appeared before us. Like its surroundings, the house was bleak and uninviting. Even the midday sun seemed disinterested in shining its light upon it. Despite, on the surface, there not being much of anything impressive about it, the entire mob stood speechless before its overwhelming presence. But the men had weapons and they were fueled by avarice, which gave them the courage to approach this place they wouldn't normally otherwise.
Door won't open. I think it's barred from the inside. It would seem someone really does live in this cursed place. I'm honestly surprised. Even more so that it's not a witch, but just a noble.
The door's old. We could break it down. Yeah, let's bust it down. Hold on. There's no need to be barbaric. Did you even consider knocking on the door like normal people? You sound like a band of thieves.
That's something else coming from you. Who do you think proposed this plan, Giselle? You. All right, men. You ready yourselves for the lives of luxury. Break down that door.
Stop it! It's the damn noble who makes our lives so hard. They deserve to be robbed. Break it! Break the door! Please, stop this. Break it down! Break it down! Break it down! Stop! All their repressed emotions detonated. They battered the door again and again and again, and in a few minutes of time it was on the verge of collapse. They shouted and cheered and hooted like madmen as my peaceful life came crumbling down around me. Growing lightheaded from the anxiety, I squeezed my eyes shut, unable to bear it any longer, when the deep groan of a door opening echoed through the forest. It would seem you are not aware of whose house you are trying to break into. The world went silent, like time had come to a stop. No one could manage to say a word, only stare at the man who had appeared from within the mansion. Surely you know what this place is called. Beneath the dazzling midday sun, he had a bone-chilling alabaster skin and long, nearly translucently pale hair. So surely you came prepared for whatever you would find. And his eyes were like two blazing infernos staring out across the mob. A demon, someone muttered, probably unconsciously. He did indeed look like something not of this world. It's a demon! The rumors about this place were true! A cursed demon lives there! Demon? Him? Michael? No, he's not Indeed, I am cursed. The witch's curse is real. I have inherited it in its entirety as well as her purpose. A witch, a demon, a spirit impure. Call me whatever you wish, for the truth shall not change. I carry within me an eternal curse. Behold my flesh, pale as the moon. No red blood flows beneath this skin as it does yours. Behold my hair, utterly devoid of colour, offered up to the devil as part of our pact. Behold these crimson eyes, a symbol of the lifeblood spilt at my hands. I shall bring calamity upon you as the witch of legend, never-ending famine, plague, catastrophe, suffering for generations, until the moment of your deaths you shall regret ever coming near this place. No! Have mercy! We were just...
It was that woman! She brought us here, tempted us with promises of wealth, deceived us, told to pillage this house. We're innocent.
Amity!
Please have mercy on us.
Give her to me then, as an offering.
Absolutely, she's yours. Torture her however you please.
I have one more condition. You never come near this house again. If you so much as consider it, you will all die by my curse.
I swear it. We won't return.
Run! Get out of here! Without so much as a glance back, the villagers scrambled into the forest. And Amadi, the man who had rescued me that night, went right along with them. Is there kindness in the world? I wasn't sure what to think anymore. Don't think I'm helping you. His voice rained down on me, but I couldn't lift my head. There was such a gaping void in my chest. I had no idea what questions I should be asking anymore. What should I be angry about? What should I be sad about? Not even the first clue. Look at me. Look at me, Giselle. Tell me, is it true you returned to the mansion to plunder it? That you brought those men here to rob me of my valuables? Answer me, Giselle. Yes, it's true. I persuaded them to steal from you. Are you really so desperate for money that you resort to looting? Just how low will you go? Not only did you seduce my father, not only did you go digging around for information about me, you brought a mob to this house. And they were armed too. Were you trying to get me killed? Answer me, Giselle! Not even going to defend yourself? Your scheme failed, so you're retreating in silence. Oh, for God's sake, you sicken me. I'm done with you. I'm done. Leave this place and never show your face here again. As he shouted at me, I stared into his fiery red eyes. A somewhat inappropriate thought crossed my mind. So he can get emotional like anyone else. And my heart, stripped raw and cast out to sea, finally sunk deep enough to be crushed by the pressure. Me? What? If you want me gone, then kill me. You can do that, can't you? You can use your curse to kill me, can't you? Then do it. Right here. Use your power. Take my life. And if you don't want to do that, stab me with your knife. Kill me. Kill me. Just kill me. What? I'm done. I can't take it. I'm through with this whole world. No one will believe anything I say. No one cares one bit about how I feel. They just walk all over me laughing. Why? Tell me why. Why is this happening to me? I never stole anything. What? What are you talking about? I tried my best to look happy. I thought everything would work out if I could keep smiling. I believed that would make things better, but nothing's ever got better. What did I ever do? Tell me, what did I do? What did but you? All I ever did was believe. I tried my best to survive, to always wear a smile. But if everything's going to be my fault and I have to deal with that for the rest of my life, then I'm done. I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to live in this world anymore. Calm down, please. I don't follow what you're saying. My understanding is that you desired money, so you brought that mob. And before that, you used my father. He wouldn't believe me even if I told you the real story. You'll take your family's word over mine. You don't have any idea what I went through there. How hard it was just to keep myself together. What? I never wanted riches. All I wanted was a decent enough wage to allow my family to live comfortably. That's all I wanted. But that man, he used my family against me. He made me... forced me to... He raped me! What? Again and again. No matter how much I resisted, he wouldn't stop. Again and again, he threatened me, beat me, cut me with a knife, over and over and over again. What? My father raped you? No one would believe me. I did nothing wrong.
You don't believe me either, do you? So I'm done. I don't want this body anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. I can't take it anymore. Help me, please. Set me free. Kill me. Kill me already. Use your curse and kill me. Just kill me.
Give me a moment. I need time to process this.
You can do it, can't you? Then kill me already. Kill me. Kill me now. Kill me, damn it.
Give me time so we can talk this through. I want to hear everything from the beginning. Inside. Let's go inside and talk. The light hurts my eyes. That was the door. I might have best let stay shut. Not knowing the truth would have been so much easier. I wouldn't have been made to shudder in disgust hearing about the crimes of my own family. But if I hadn't opened that door, I would have lost everything. That day, after far too long, I finally let myself see the person in Giselle. Giselle didn't recover for some time after I managed to get her inside. Unsure what else I could do for her, I had her sit before the fireplace and waited in silence as she sobbed. I had no idea what one was supposed to say to someone who was crying. Was it normal to offer them a warm drink? I didn't know. I did know I needed to reflect on the things she had said outside and try to make sense of them. And from there, calm myself down and prepare for the conversation we were to have, as unpleasant as I'm sure it would be. A considerable amount of time later, Giselle's sobbing drew to a stop, an oppressive silence stepping in to take its place. For far longer than was comfortable, the only sound we heard was the gentle crackling of the fire. I had to say something. I knew that. But what I didn't know was how to begin. I knew nothing about having an honest, face-to-face discussion with someone about the things they were thinking and feeling. But that didn't change anything. I had to do it. Even if down that road lay truths I would be happier not seeing. Giselle, could you please tell me what you did what was done to you at my family's home? How you ended up coming to this mansion, and what happened after you left? I would like to know everything, from start to finish. Will you believe what I tell you? You never so much as gave me the time of day before. And I very much doubt you will find what I have to say agreeable. Will you still believe me, even then? Believe my word, a stranger's word, over your family or the people of the village? I cannot yet say. I must hear what you have to say to make that decision. I suppose that might be better than you saying you'll believe me unconditionally. All right. I'll tell you everything. Just know that nothing I say is a lie. Understood? Giselle methodically recounted her tale for me. She told me of how she accepted an offer from the Bollingers to work as an Abigail to earn money for her family, of how my father, Antonin, had other plans for her, of the things he did to her. She spoke dryly, simply putting words to each event, one after the other. I had already seen how she felt deep down, though. Had heard her pained screams, which were undoubtedly genuine. I didn't think she was trying to deceive me. That was the sound of old wounds being torn open, and even I could see that. Or perhaps my own experiences were what allowed me to see it. Regardless, I had realized too late. I should have seen it sooner. She described it all mechanically, to remain detached from what had happened to her, to protect herself. Of that, I had no doubts. Still, the things she told me were almost unbearable, and I had a difficult time accepting them. What was I supposed to do? When I learned my father was a rapist, how was I supposed to react to that revelation? What was I supposed to think about the fact that his blood flowed through me? I repulsed myself.
Do you want all the details?
What do you mean?
Of the wounds he gave me. I still have scars from the things he did. If you don't believe me, I can show you them.
No, that won't be necessary.
I see. That's a relief. I don't think I could have handled that right now.
I hadn't turned down her offer for her sake. I only did so because I didn't think I could take any more. I averted my eyes to protect myself. Why had I taken my mother's word, brushing aside everything Giselle had said and done? I knew good and well my mother was no longer in her right mind, so why had I thought her letter the truth? Why had I been unable to think rationally? There were, I believe, several factors. My childhood, my past, the witch's whispers, and above all, my own character, consumed with distrust for everything. I had to face it now, to open my eyes once more, to look at everything I had pretended away until now. I was not completely blameless for her suffering after all. Please continue if you will.
I left off at the point where the mistress discovered what was happening, I believe. I was sent to this mansion to atone for my sins.
Sins that she didn't even commit.
It was decided I would be sent here rather than be executed, which is what the mistress wanted. At first, I assumed it would be essentially a private prison, but in the carriage on the way here, I was given a letter.
A letter from whom?
It didn't say, but your father was the one who ordered me here, so I would guess it was him. The letter was very concise, simply explaining that there was someone already there, the Bollingers' youngest child. It didn't go into any more detail than that, but it did ask me to look after you.
Do you still have the letter?
I don't. The coachman took it back after I was finished. Thinking back on it now, it was rather strange of him to do. It was just a harmless letter.
It was anything but.
What?
It wasn't my father who wrote that letter. He believes me to be dead, so he would have sincerely thought he was banishing you to an empty house in a remote forest. The writer couldn't risk leaving anything that might suggest I was still alive.
Then who?
My brother, I believe. Either Dilda or Georges, but I would guess Didier.
Your brother? Why would he?
I do not know. I can't imagine why he would write such a letter, or why he would want to tell you about me.
I don't believe he had any ill intentions, at least. I mean, he asked me to look after you. That makes it sound like he's concerned about you.
Then why doesn't he stay in contact? Why does he never respond to my letters? It's a bit late to suddenly start being concerned. No, never mind that now. Please tell me the rest.
All right.
Giselle resumed her story from the day she fled the mansion, terrified by my behaviour. She seemed to be putting a bit more emotion into her tone of voice now, perhaps because she could see I was more interested in this part. There was a deep sadness on her face as she described that night in the rain, listening to the thunder when she gave up on living, and I knew I had caused it. She then told me of the time she spent in the nearby village, how at first life had seemed wonderful, but in time it had come crumbling down. Naturally, she wouldn't be here to tell me this if nothing had happened there. Once she was through with her tale, Giselle let out a long, heavy sigh as though she had been holding it in for some time. I thought I could hear a faint trembling in the air she exhaled. That is everything. Do you believe me? If you don't, if you still think I'm deceiving you, then I won't argue with you. That's fine. If that's the case, please kill me. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? I know I wasn't very open to anything you said, but if that day, when I found you in my room, you had told me I was mistaken, that the sin belonged to my father, it might not have turned out like this. The knife. What? You were holding a knife. I can't handle blades anymore. Ever since what happened, they scare me to death. Just the sight of one in someone's hand, and I start thinking they're going to use it on me. I can't help it. I start shaking uncontrollably, growing faint of breath. The world goes white. I can't even form words. There's nothing I can do. Now I finally see. She was grimacing in pain. The day the package arrived, when you knocked my hand away, because I was scared. Because it reminded me of that time. I had assumed she was simply jumpy from a guilty conscience. I felt nauseous realizing I had been pouring a constant stream of salt into her unmendable wounds. What a damned fool I was. Why did you get so upset at me? Why did you have to point a knife at me? I didn't want you snooping. If you meant to sell information about me, I thought I had to do anything in my power to stop you. I'm still not convinced it was necessary. I was unarmed. I couldn't fight back. You didn't need a knife. I have nothing left anymore, so I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. You're a jerk. What you did was inexcusable. You may not have hurt me physically, but you still hurt me. Humans are frail creatures. They wound easily. Apologize. Whoa. Apologize to me. I said apologize. I'm sorry. Again, put your heart into it. Convince me you mean it. I'm sorry. Again! Once more! Get down on your knees and shout it from your gut. I'm so very sorry! Was that a laugh? Jeez. You're such a strange man. Strange? You told me to do it. Nothing's going like I thought it would. I figured even if we talked, you would just deny everything I said. I didn't think you'd actually listen to me. But you did. You listened, and you looked quite distressed by what you heard. I looked distressed? Oh yes, you sure did. I wish I'd had a mirror to show you. I'm sure you didn't want to believe what I said, but you didn't once accuse me of lying. You faced up to the truth, and you apologized. seem to have had the wrong impression of you as well. I didn't try to see you for who you were, instead letting myself believe you were someone to be afraid of. To be honest, I didn't like you very much. The feeling was mutual, but for some reason, I don't feel that way now. Is it guilt? I need to apologize to you too. Apologize? For what? I led the villagers here. I almost sold my soul to the devil. I tried to sell you out to save myself, and for that I am truly sorry. I don't understand. What? Do I need to get down on my knees too? No, that's not what I meant. The blame falls on the village for falsely accusing you of stealing. You are a convenient scapegoat for the real thieves. They planned to take advantage of you from the start. That Amadou was probably in on it as well, to get back at you for rejecting his proposal. Plus, giving the village a single target to let out their frustrations on would, in a way, help unify them. He used you to meet that end. In order to escape from their trap, you told them about me. But this was after I had threatened you, causing you to flee from this place. You have nothing to apologize for. Still, I still feel rather bad about it. So, I'm sorry anyway. You're unexpectedly stubborn. But now that we've both apologized to each other, we can call everything square. Square? Square. We were both in the wrong. So we apologized and we forgave each other. She gave a little smile, but all I could do was stare at her, brow furrowed in perplexity, like I was looking at some bizarre fantasyland creature. The weight of our crimes was not equal. What I had done to her was so much worse. Furthermore, I am Antonin's son. His blood flows through me. Can you honestly say you don't find me revolting? That you're willing to forgive me for that? I didn't think I would be able to. If I were her, my grudge would extend to all of my family, everyone I had ever come into contact with. I can. Although, you don't need forgiveness for being his son. Being related to someone doesn't make you responsible for their sins. It wouldn't be fair to blame you for that. You're curious. What? Curious about what? No, not that curious. You're a strange creature. I'm human, you know. Yes, I know you're human. You're making me lightheaded. Is it a medical emergency? That's quite the leap in logic. You know, I was at my lowest just a little bit ago, and now I'm laughing again. It's odd. I never expected I would recover at all. I was just as surprised as her. She had been through hell, and she had more than enough reason to despise me, to shower me with vitriol, but instead she was smiling. And even more unexpected was the fact that I felt relieved to see it. I really, truly wished I had gotten to know him sooner. Yes, I had fled from the mansion in fear of him, but maybe if I'd just had a little more courage, enough to tell him the truth, maybe he would have listened. I had let my initial impression of him solidify too quickly. I had convinced myself he was insensitive and perpetually expressionless, save for the Arctic stare. But the man standing before me did experience sadness, pain, distress, or at the very least he appeared to from where I was standing. Michael was, just like me, an ordinary person. That said, there was still plenty I didn't know. I was still lacking explanations for much of his behavior. Would you mind telling me about yourself now? I'd like to get to know you better. What are you doing here in this mansion, all alone? Why do you call yourself cursed? I told you everything. It's only fair you do the same. I have no interest in using your information for anything. I have no reason to. Or are you going to keep pushing the master and servant line? Do you still think I have no need to know? Be quiet, for the love of God! Stop talking already! You always pick the worst time. What? Excuse me, what do you mean I always pick the worst time? No, I wasn't. Unbelievable. Just when I was starting to think you might actually be a decent human being, there you go and spout this. No, Giselle, I wasn't talking to you. Who else could it have been? I was, talking to, I have, a condition that forces me to vocalize objections to my own thoughts. That's about as convincing as my allergic to people excuse. Sorry. Weirdo. What crosses did he bear? What secrets did he keep? Maybe the truth was far beyond my reckoning, and if it was, even if he did, please tell me everything. No matter what you say, I won't doubt your words. I will trust you, and I'm sure I can accept anything you say. Please. If you don't put it into words, I have nothing to work with. Okay. Where should I start, though? How about the curse, then? Are you actually cursed? That's a difficult question. I cannot, for example, take someone's life with my curse, nor can I bring about disaster. I don't have any magical powers like that. So what you said outside was a bluff, then? It was just a way to chase the villagers away. Well, you certainly put on a convincing performance. So you can't actually curse anyone, huh? Regardless, I am human. Nothing more, nothing less. At least I consider myself one. Others would disagree. And the reason for that has to do with my body. Your skin, hair, and eye color, right? Right. Seeing Michael under the sun, he certainly wasn't what most people would consider normal, or inspiring, in fact. Giving birth to me, it broke my mother. No, I drove her mad. Not only do I appear inhuman, I'm oversensitive to sunlight. While a little light through the window isn't much of a problem, I can't be outside directly under the sun for more than a couple of hours. When she realized I couldn't go out into the sun, my mother started thinking I was possessed by a demon. So she banished me to this mansion until my curse was broken. That was 10 years ago. Just because you look different from them? The family's reputation was at stake too. If other noble houses realized they were giving refuge to an unholy creature, it would destroy the Bollingers. You saw how the villagers reacted. They called me a demon when they saw me. I suspect the rumors about the mansion played a part in that. If nobody thought the mansion was cursed, they wouldn't have. I'm sure you were afraid as well. You saw me and thought I was not of this world, that I looked like a demon. I thought you looked like an angel. A what? I at least thought you looked more like an angel than a demon. I never once crossed my mind that you might be evil. But I understand your situation now. Because of your appearance, you've lived all alone in this dark mansion for 10 years. It was never really an inconvenience. They bring me all the supplies I need. You big liar. Have you ever considered running away? That's not an option. Because of the sun? No, I could move during the night if I really wanted to. I'm being watched to ensure I don't leave. Watched? They can't allow anyone to find out that I am alive, particularly at the Bollinger estate. If I were to run and they were to find out, I would probably be killed. If only I didn't stand out so much, I might be able to stay out of sight easier. But also, I had been holding on to a little hope, I think. Hope that I might be able to return someday. I have all but given up that hope now, though. Not that I ever had enough willpower to really fight for it. I see. You don't need to worry about pitying me either. It's long since become normal to me. That's not something that should ever become normal. So what was it that really, a moment ago? What happened? You don't actually have a condition that makes you argue with yourself, do you? Please tell me. You don't have to believe me. In fact, I doubt you will. You're free to think I'm completely mad. Don't worry. I want to know. I can hear the witch's voice. The witch's voice? It started when I first arrived at the mansion. No one else can hear it either. Like I said, it sounds crazy. No, not at all. I said I would trust you, so I believe you. Maybe he's not well. Yeah, that has to be it. 10 years all alone in one place and you're bound to start hearing things. He seems like a delicate person too. Thinking about it like that, I'm starting to feel really sorry for him. Do I want to know what you're thinking? I'm here for you. Huh? I've made up my mind. I'm going to stay here with you. Wait, what? Don't worry. I'll shout so loud you won't be able to hear that silly witch's voice anymore. Will you now? If you hear it again, let me know, understood? You don't have to be afraid. I never said I was. Whenever you hear it, I'll be there with you, holding your hand. Well, we kind of took the extremely long route, but there you have it. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Master. Master? Now, where should we begin? I know, supper. Are you hungry? What should I make? Slow down, please. What is it? If there's something you'd like, I'm happy to accommodate. You actually intend to stay here again? After what happened last time? Because of what happened. Because of that, we're finally able to see past each other's surface. I want us to try again, from the beginning. And this time, actually try to be considerate of one another's feelings. That's a promise, Master. All right. I can stay here, right? I don't mind. I'm glad to hear it. Say. Yes, Master? If you ever want something from me, could I please ask you to put it into words? I don't have much faith in my ability to pick up on things. Got it. Then, here's something to start with. What do you say we open some of these windows? Open the windows? Yeah. We don't have to if you think it will cause you problems, but it would be nice to get a little light in here. I'd like to put an end to this house being a dark, closed-off cave. I wasn't the one who barred the windows. You weren't? They were like that when I arrived. Made it seem like a very appropriate place to lock me away. While I'm sensitive to light, yes, as I mentioned, a little sun through the windows shouldn't cause any problems. All right then, can I ask you to help me open them? Let's both lighten this place up. After a few moments of silence, Michael gave me a curt nod. While we couldn't do anything about the windows that had been boarded up, the two of us forced open the ones that were just covered by rusted over shutters. When we got the first one open, a beautiful stream of light like nothing I had ever seen before flooded into the dark mansion's halls. I'd assumed that spring would never come. All we had to do was talk to each other, listen to each other, and everything else would fall into place. But it was the first step that was so hard, so much harder than either of us had expected. And now that the ice was melting, we had to treasure that. It might not have seemed like much to someone else, but to us it was a huge accomplishment.